in a ball game. I think someone told me it was like 16 lead changes. We were up, they were up, we were up, they were up, and even as they mounted a surge right there at the end. We didn't knock some free throws down, but let's give them credit. They made some plays. I thought Starks was fantastic tonight. He played probably one of his better games. It seemed like he loves playing against us. I think because of the floor space style that he can get in there and create, and he's so shifty. Also, Flag, he had a great game for them also. But I was so proud of our guys. I thought our guys, they matched the intensity, they matched the physicality that A&M brings to the table. I think they're plus 6, 7, I don't know what on the rebound. And obviously, we hadn't done as good a job as we were capable of doing. But tonight, I thought there was a big difference in the game. We talk about winning in the paint. I thought that was the biggest difference. But then also, we went 1 for 14 from the three-point line, I think, in the second half. I mean, Mason goes like goose egg in the first half. Second half, we ended up making, I think, 4 in a row. Mason made 3 of them. Big shots. And so this win goes to our total team. Daniel was actually saddled with 4 fouls when we actually made a real good surge with Gabe Usoborn out there. I thought he was big, 7 rebounds for it, fixing things on defense. Adriel Bailey. And what can you say about Jalen Harris? That's why I said you.
I know you're gonna dig this.
A naked man runs into a local vintage shop, wreaks havoc inside, and then causes a scene.
Before we get into this story, I want you to know that Clay Henry is safe. He's back under the care of loved ones.
It's all dope here.
Answer me now.
No way.
Sports talk.
We need to hire a batter coach up there.
Wow.
From the Fleet Center of Arkansas Studios for all your commercial truck needs.
I'm speaking facts.
How about a little decorum in here on a work day?
Filling in for Bo today, here is Bart Pullman.
I felt like we had the better team, and I felt like that if we could get a couple of breaks, we could pull away.
Tagovailoa going to throws, and it's picked at the 45-yard line. It's going to be returned for 6. Boom! Tagovailoa gets picked, and it's returned by A.J. Terrell for 6.
As soon as we stepped on that field, everything changed. We knew we was going to come out and win this game.
ETN refused to go down. Scores from 17. Clemson retakes the lead.
We bent a little, but we never broke. We punched back. This group had the eye of the tiger tonight, man.
Tua looking to throw and first down. Launches it for Judy, but it's picked off. The second interception. This is Trayvon Mullen.
We didn't finish the way we wanted to finish. We didn't do the things we needed to do to execute and be successful in this game, and that's all it is.
The fake field goal fools no one, and Clemson will take over on down.
I just have a feeling that I didn't do a very good job for our team, with our team, giving them the best opportunity to be successful.
Justin Ross off and running. The Alabama native wins the foot race. And Clemson strengthens its grip on this championship game.
We came in with the mindset that we were going to play on the balls of our feet, and we were going to attack, and we did. The whole night we attacked.
Tagovailoa going to keep it. Rolls under pressure. They got him in second at the 9-yard line. Cleveland Farrell. And Clemson another stop. Aloha, Alabama.
Listen, we drove the Roy bus all the way out here to wherever the heck California we are. And who's driving now? Proud members of the Roy bus. So for all them other teams out there on that bus, hey, listen, I hope that you get a little hope from us and a little inspiration that, hey, if we can do it, anybody can do it.
The golden scepter is ours. Clemson downs Alabama 44-16 to win their second national championship in 3 years and their third overall.
Tonight, we conquered a mountain that ain't ever been conquered. The flag's on the top. Man, I can't wait to celebrate. I can't wait.
With all due respect to Dabo Swinney, Clemson ain't on the Roy bus anymore. In fact, they haven't been on the Roy bus for a little bit, if we're being really, really honest. The rest of y'all bus is Alabama, and then everybody else is on the Roy bus, the rest of y'all bus. Clemson, not on that bus anymore. A dominating, shellacking of the Crimson Tide. They broke the machine. And that's something we haven't seen before. It's Nick Saban's worst loss at Alabama. His previous worst margin of defeat for the Crimson Tide under Nick Saban, 14 points. This doubled that. It was an absolute clinic that Clemson put on display from both sides of the ball and thoroughly dominated the game in every single aspect. And to that, you can do nothing else other than tip your cap and say, job well done. I will say this. If these games are just going to turn into Clemson blowouts now, I don't want to see Alabama and Clemson playing again next year. Kidding. That's what's going to happen, by the way. If I were a betting man and I had the choice between betting on the national championship game next year being Alabama and Clemson or being any other possibility, I would take Alabama and Clemson. Both teams return a ton of starters on both sides of the ball next year. Both teams will be better next year than they were this year. And I see no reason to think that these two teams won't again be playing for the national title next year. It is now, though, no longer just Alabama at the top of college football. Clemson is right there with them and should be in every conversation moving forward about the great programs in college football, the elite programs in college football. It is Alabama and Clemson and then everybody else. Make no mistake about it. That is so obvious after last night. And I think it's a bit much to call Alabama's dynasty dead. I've seen a lot of that on social media. Analysts have been talking about that too. That's way over the top. The Alabama football program is fine. They're going to be really good again next year. But for one night, they got thoroughly outplayed by better players, and they got outcoached dramatically. I mean, Brent Venables put Mike Locksley in a box and basically said, hey, you stay over here. You just sit over here in this box for the entire game because we're going to dominate you and you're not going to be able to do anything about it. You're not going to be able to keep up. That's what happened. Same on the other side of the ball. Clemson's offense took advantage. The thing that really was surprising to me, I think that was the worst we've ever seen Alabama's offensive line play under Nick Saban. Now, Clemson has loads of talent along the defensive line. Don't get me wrong. But so does Georgia. And Alabama's line held up for the most part against the Bulldogs. They got embarrassed against Clemson. Tua Tagovailoa had hardly any time all night. He got skittish after a couple of early interceptions. He started throwing balls off his back foot or while he was going backwards. It was just the word I kept thinking of as I'm sitting there watching the game unfold was just truly how bizarre it all was. Everything about that game was bizarre. And I'm not trying to take any credit away from Clemson. I mean, goodness gracious, I don't think you could if you tried. They were incredible. They were dominant. They deserved to win the national title. It was just the way the game went that was bizarre. Tua playing so poorly was bizarre. The way Alabama's offensive line got manhandled, bizarre. The way Alabama's defense had no answer for what Clemson was doing, bizarre. We saw the machine get broken in a way that we had not seen before. I'll give you some of the stats that just stood out to me that tell you just how crazy and truly bizarre that was Clemson, the first, as I mentioned, the first team to beat Alabama by more than 14 points since Saban became the coach in 2007. The first time Alabama as a program had lost by more than 20 points since the 27-3 loss to LSU in 2003. You know who the coach was then for LSU? Nick Saban. Clemson was 10 of 15 on third downs. Just no resistance from the Tide. The 15-point halftime deficit, the largest the Tide had ever faced under Nick Saban. No Saban team at Alabama in 166 games there had trailed by more than 20 points at any point in a game. The 44 points allowed by the Tide, the second highest total ever under Saban. And for Clemson, they're the first team in the AP poll era to finish 15-0. And they're the first D1 team, D1 FBS team to finish 15-0 since Penn in 1897. Now, to give you some comparative details between Clemson and that Penn team, Clemson scored 664 points this year. Penn had 443. Clemson allowed 197 points. Penn allowed 20. Impressive.
Where is Penn? Where is it? Pennsylvania, like University of?
The University of Pennsylvania.
Okay,
Sawyer.
Just wanted to clarify.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. When Penn won that title and went 15-0 in 1897, there were no airplanes, and there were only 45 states in America. Hadn't made it all the way to 50 yet. 5 short. Thanks to ESPN for that piece of data there. I think there's a lot of ways to come at this game and this result and what it means. And we're going to get into all of that. The question I keep hearing, does this mean that Dabo Swinney is now on the same level as Nick Saban? Well, they don't have the same number of titles. Saban has 6. Dabo has 2. But both have 2 in the college football playoff era. I think that means something. Saban, 6-2 now all time in national championship games. The 2 losses, both to Dabo. It's interesting. Dabo and his staff just outcoached Alabama. Saban and his staff. And that's something we really haven't seen before. And that's something I want to get into a little bit as we go. What's that mean? And what's that look like? And you just saw uncharacteristic stuff from Saban in this game. The fake field goal. What was that? That was as bizarre a coaching decision as you could possibly imagine Nick Saban making.
I think it was a poor decision on my part not to kick a field goal, the first drive of the second half. We thought we had a really, really good fake, and somebody didn't block the guy they were supposed to block, so it didn't work. So it was a bad call. It's always that way.
What we saw from Nick Saban in that moment, I think, was panic. Really, for the first time in his tenure at Alabama, for once, he knew he didn't have the better team on the field. When you go back through the losses that he's had at Alabama, you can argue that in every one of those losses, Alabama was better. They just lost the game. Last night, they weren't. Clemson was the better team in all aspects. They had better players. They had better coaching. And I think the exodus of coaches every year has finally caught up to Nick Saban, by the way. We never stop and think about how difficult that has to be to replace your coordinators year after year after year after year. Eventually, you're going to get it wrong. Or eventually, it's not going to work out the way you want it to work out. But I think the bigger question is this, are these two programs on the same level now? And the answer, in my opinion, given to us last night is a resounding yes. Clemson, there's been this gap, right, in college football, Alabama and everybody else. And there have been other good programs that have kind of cycled up and down. You could say 5 to 6 programs that have cycled up and down over the past several years. But there's been a gap between Alabama and those teams, and then those teams to everybody else. Clemson didn't just erase that gap last night. It just completely annihilated it. They've got dudes. They've got talent all over that roster. And their 3 best players offensively are a sophomore running back, a freshman wide receiver in Justin Ross, who, my goodness, goodness gracious, you're telling me NFL teams don't want him right now? And a guy in a quarterback named Trevor Lawrence, who would be the number 1 pick in the NFL draft if it was happening, if he was eligible. He would be the number 1 pick in the NFL draft. Of that, there is no doubt in my mind. A true freshman, calm, cool, collected, making incredible throws, great plays all night long. Clemson is for real. And, hey, by the way, do we all now understand and see why Kelly Bryant decided to transfer from Clemson? I tweeted this out last night, and there were still people who were pushing back, like, well, he still quit on his team. He still, decided that he wanted to go play for a bad Missouri program instead of, be a backup and win a national title. He played 4 games. He's going to get a ring. For all intents and purposes, he won a national title this year. No, he wasn't with the team for the game. But if you can't see why he transferred now, you are truly out of your mind. That's where we start today. 877-447-4040 is the T-Mobile listener line. If you want to get in here with your thoughts on the national championship game or anything else, there's some interesting parallels, I think, between what's going on with Clemson right now and Chad Morris at Arkansas. I want to get into that a little bit as we move throughout the show today. But we're taking your calls, again, 877-447-4040 when we come back.
This is Sports Talk, streaming live on sportandstory.com.
The best burger in the state is now in Fayetteville. That's right. CJ's Butcher Boy Burgers is proud to have our second location right here in Razorback Nation. Located on West Weddington Drive, we're excited to serve fresh, quality burgers, hand-cut fries, shakes and malts for the best pregame or postgame meal to cheer on the Hogs in every season. Make CJ's Butcher Boy Burgers your new Fayetteville food destination. Opening at 11 a.m. December 28th on Weddington Drive. When all you do are burgers, they have to be the best.
Need a vehicle for your business? Fleet Center of Arkansas is your #1 source for all your commercial truck needs. Go by Fleet Center of Arkansas to find huge savings on the highest quality vehicles of your choice. Fleet Center of Arkansas is dedicated to providing quality pre-owned vehicles with a full array of financing options to meet your needs. Stop by Fleet Center of Arkansas in Rogers off Hudson Road and find the right vehicle for the job. View inventory online at FleetCenterLLC.com.
This is Sports Talk with Bo Mattingly.
Yeah, I think every Razorback fan agrees with you. And what you did, we talked about it a minute ago, is sort of revolutionary, with what you were a part of at the Wildcat. And you hadn't seen running backs do that in this era, not like you did. And that was a really impressive feat, and the numbers that you put together were incredible. And when you look back on it, it was incredible. You had a 321-yard rushing performance against South Carolina. I remember that game. What were you thinking as that game's going on?
Oh man, that was I tell you that would be definitely my second one right there, as far as my memories of Arkansas. But you know, as the time went on, I just knew we were having a heck of a day running the ball. Myself and Felix, we both were having a good day running the ball. And I remember at one point in the game, it was probably, I don't know, midway through third or fourth or something, but I was approaching 200 yards and I ran a run for like 70 yards, and then that put me up, and I think it might have been an 80-yard run, and that put me up there to around about 280-something, and then that's when the 300 goal started creeping into my head. And, we kept running the ball and kept running it, and, we ended up making it happen, but it was definitely an honor to, tie SEC rushing record.
Do you sometimes, can you hear that roar in your head even now when you broke through and you were pulling away and you had 40 yards of nothing but green between you and the end zone? Can you hear that roar?
It's like, I guess depending on where you were, if you heard the roar or not. In Arkansas, you definitely would hear the roar, but I've seen times at LSU where it was like you hear a pin drop when that run happened, so it was always fun to be able to get out there and get loose, but, I definitely enjoyed it. That's one thing I love about the Razorback fans, man. They're some of the best fans in the world, and, they're always going to be there supporting and cheering us on.
D-Mac, what's that like? It's probably a hard choice. Which is better, the silence of a really loud place like Death Valley or the roar of a Razorback Stadium in Little Rock or Fayetteville? Which one's better, the loud or the quiet?
I got to say, just for the logistics of it, a quiet stadium.
Hit me with it. Just give it to me straight.
The ball kind of popped out, but I put it back in.
I didn't alter the ball in any way.
I said, let's lose 11-5.
And now it's time for Sports Talk's No Malarkey Minute. Brought to you by Mr. Sparky, Northwest Arkansas's on-time electrician. Call 888-8-SPARKY today.
I don't think we always step back and have a 20,000-foot view and kind of appreciate what's going on. And I'm talking about Alabama and Clemson and what those two programs have done. Regardless of the result of last night's game, those two teams have met for a national title now in 3 of the past 4 years. And that's something that has not happened in college football. Now, granted, there hasn't been a national championship game scenario in college football for, decades. It only goes back to 1998. Still, it's the first time that's happened. But what's interesting is just how rare that really is. When you look at other sports, other leagues, and I'm talking mainly here about the 4 professional sports leagues in our country, that thing, playing the same 2 teams matching up for a championship in 3 out of 4 years, it's only happened 5 times in history outside of what Alabama and Clemson have done. Since the NBA-ABA merger, it's only happened twice in the NBA. The Lakers and the Celtics did it in the mid-'80s, and the Warriors and Cavs did it the last 4 years. Now, that obviously is going to change. The Cavs will not be making an appearance in the NBA Finals again anytime soon. So twice in the NBA. It's happened twice in Major League Baseball in the live ball era. So from 1920 to the present. The New York Yankees and New York Giants played 3 straight years from 1921 to 1923. The Yankees and the Brooklyn Dodgers played 4 times in 5 years in the mid-'50s. It's never happened in the NFL. And it's only happened once in the NHL. The Red Wings and the Montreal Canadiens met 4 times in 5 years in the mid-'50s. So what Alabama and Clemson have done is truly unprecedented in terms of the dominance that those two programs have had. I mentioned the Roy bus that Dabo Swinney has always mentioned, the rest of y'all bus. Well, that doesn't exist anymore. It does, but not for Clemson. Clemson and Alabama are the two programs, the model programs in college football. And there's no debating that. But what they've done is truly historic. And I think everybody kind of needs to step back and appreciate what those two programs have accomplished and the new standard that they have set for other programs around the country to follow. The No Malarkey Minutes brought to you by Mr. Sparky, Northwest Arkansas's on-time electrician. If you have an electrical problem, doesn't matter how big or small, call our friends at Mr. Sparky. You know the number. It's 8888-SPARKY. You can even schedule your appointment online at MrSparkyNWA.com.
You don't have to put up with any malarkey. Call 888-8-SPARKY.
When we come back, Bo's going to join us. He's going to hop on via phone. He's at the coaches convention down in San Antonio. We'll get his thoughts on the national championship game, where this leaves Clemson, where it leaves Alabama, and more.
This is Sports Talk, streaming live on sportandstory.com.
Life is better with basketball and with First Security. We have the know-how to assist with your needs, plus a local team you could count on. What's your better? Get there with us. First Security. Bank better. FSbank.com, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Need a vehicle for your business? Fleet Center of Arkansas is your #1 source for all your commercial truck needs. Go by Fleet Center of Arkansas to find huge savings on the highest quality vehicles of your choice. Fleet Center of Arkansas is dedicated to providing quality pre-owned vehicles with a full array of financing options to meet your needs. Stop by Fleet Center of Arkansas in Rogers off Hudson Road and find the right vehicle for the job. View inventory online at FleetCenterLLC.com.
This is Sports Talk with Bo Mattingly.
Well, today's a special day for Arkansas fans and maybe the best player to ever wear a Razorback uniform.
Y'all better put him in the Heisman. You better put him up there. I'm tired of him being number 4. We got that wood right here, baby. Somebody better look at this guy, the best football player in the country, and his name's not being mentioned. Lou Holtz, Mark May, number 5. You better look at him a little closer. He's a football player.
That's Houston Nutt talking Darren McFadden, who's going into the College Football Hall of Fame. He's the only Razorback in program history to win multiple national awards in his career, racked up 25 first-team All-America honors, twice a runner-up in the Heisman, 2007 Player of the Year, and he's with us on the First Security Bank hotline. D-Mac, congratulations and welcome to the show.
Man, I appreciate it. Thank you guys very much for having me on.
What's today been like? Have you been going down memory lane a little bit?
Definitely so, man. To get that news and to have your phone start blowing up and then, start seeing a lot of clips and highlights and things that people have been posting. It's definitely been a great, man. It's an honor to be inducted into the College Hall of Fame. And it's one that not many people get into, so it's definitely an honor to be, man. And, I'm just super excited and joyful.
So you heard that clip that we just played. Do you still have that wood?
I remember it like yesterday, yes, sir. Still do.
What do you remember about being on the field there after beating LSU and Coach Nutt talking about the Heisman?
Man, it was just so much going on. I can remember just being out there and running around and jumping up and down with some of the teammates, and then I seen Coach Nutt doing an interview, and I just felt like it was a good time to join in with him, man. And it definitely was a classic interview, and I'm sure it's going to be around for a long time.
Tell me how you got to the wood, how Houston Nutt had brought the baseball bats or whatever the story is, and what you were saying there while he's doing that interview.
It was one of those deals where basically like a motivation for us. We actually started using them a couple games before. It was getting down to like the last few games of the season, and it was a grind for us, and that was our thing. You have to bring your wood every day, and just come to work. And, that was one of our things, and I think a lot of people took that and took it as motivation. And, guys went out there and played the way that we felt like we should, and, we were able to come out on top down there.
We see now every day we're watching a game, NFL, college, they'll get in the what they call wildcat formation. You guys eventually named it the Wild Hog, but that really started at least in this era, I think, of football with you in Arkansas. Tell us how that kind of came about and what you were kind of thinking when that started being something you guys were practicing.
No, it was something we definitely laid a foundation for the Wildcat, what people call it, I guess. But yeah, we definitely laid a foundation for the Arkansas. I would give a lot of credit to Coach Danny Nutt. You know, he recruited me all through high school, so he pretty much knew that I can play quarterback, running back, receiver, and different positions on the field. So he kind of pitched the idea to Coach Nutt, Houston Nutt, and from there everybody put their heads together and threw some plays in and started making plays and. It became part of our offense, and I felt like they had enough trust in me to give me freedom back there to, if it's a run play call, I could raise up and throw it if I had an opportunity to, and I just think it speaks volume for the amount of trust that Coach Nutt and the staff had in me at the time, and it was very great to be able to go back there and do it.
So you're the running back, and that brings...
And now, the Ozark Sportsman Supply Hog Update.
The Florida Gators come in here and coached by Mike White, very hard-nosed athletic team, great perimeter players, very athletic team. And so it's going to be another opportunity for us to go out and continue to get better.
Arkansas hasn't beaten Florida in the regular season since 2013, but they beat the Gators in the SEC tournament a year ago.
We're different, they're different. Should be a great atmosphere. Looking forward to an opportunity for our guys to go out and continue to get better. I think that's going to be the big key.
Tip-off at 7:30 on the SEC Network. Some football notes for you. Ryan Pulley has decided to forgo his senior season and declare for the NFL Draft. The cornerback making the announcement yesterday on Twitter. And Dre Greenlaw has been invited to the NFL Combine. I'm Melissa Orange for the Pig Trail Nation, and that's your Hog Update.
Filling in for Bo today, here is Bart Bowman.
Thanks, Alyssa. The Hog Update brought to you by Ozark Sportsman Supply and Ozark Outpost Casual Clothing. It's now also a working man or woman's paradise. That's right. The Ozark's now your go-to store for all your work clothes and work footwear needs. They've got Carhartt products across the board. Coats, jackets, bibs, vests, jeans, shirts, you name it. They've got it. Why go anywhere else when you can get it all in one place at the Ozarks? Ozark Sportsman Supply and Ozark Outpost Casual Clothing on Highway 412 West, just outside of Springdale in Tawnytown. It's well worth the short drive. Let's go to the First Security Bank hotline and welcome in Bo Mattingly, the host of this show, out today. He'll be back Thursday, Bo. Great to have you on. As always, it is your show after all. So you kind of get to do whatever you want in terms of coming on the show.
Well, hey, it's I'm actually, as you know, I've become a world traveler by basically circumstance as it is, not often necessarily planned. And we're working on some content that we've done a little bit of before, and we're working on a couple of college football related pieces that will be revealing themselves hopefully soon and throughout 2019, which allows us to do a number of different things and have connections that we wouldn't otherwise have, network, and be able to bring guests on the show and various other content pieces that we'll be producing moving forward, which all of that, I know it sounds like that I've joined the CIA, and maybe I have, but if I could, I couldn't tell you. And so, or if I did, I wouldn't be able to tell you. So I'm actually in San Antonio today at the coaches convention. I've never been here before. I wanted to go just to kind of see what it's like. And boy, there are a lot of coaches here, high school, college. I mean, everything from, Texas State to Georgia and everything in between, FCS. It's seeing some familiar faces. For many of you, you may remember Dave Wommack. Some people pronounce it Dave Wommack. That's not how you pronounce it. He was the defensive coordinator at Arkansas under Houston Nutt, and then later at Ole Miss for a time under Hugh Freeze. He has since retired. His son, Kane Wommack, went to South Alabama most recently and was the defensive coordinator there. He's 31 years old, and he's just become the defensive coordinator at Indiana. He is the youngest defensive coordinator in college football, and I ran into him just a few minutes ago. Kane Wommack. When Dave Wommack was the defensive coordinator at high school, Kane was a sophomore at Fayetteville High School when Dave was the coordinator at Arkansas. And so I just ran into him. I've seen a few familiar faces. Jesse Stone, who was a graduate assistant at Arkansas for Jim Chaney, is now in offensive quality control at Georgia, and he's been there for the last 2 or 3 years, or maybe longer. And he saw him a few minutes ago. So some familiar Arkansas ties, and I could go on and on, but I won't. Everybody here is I think, smiling that they have an opportunity to actually ascend to win a national championship, because Alabama's not the only one doing that anymore. I think it's the optimism and the hope that you see around here is kind of interesting. And they're also a little puzzled by how that all unraveled last night for the Tide. No, I don't think anybody saw the blowout coming. Did Sawyer predict the Clemson blowout?
No, Saul predicted an Alabama blowout.
Yeah, I
went to bed last night thinking, did Sawyer predict that? And I was like, surely not.
Surely
He would be bragging on Twitter. He would have created his own video about how I got it right one time in my life. I've never picked a game right in my life, but I want you to know this time I picked it. It's amazing, and I'm great. And I didn't see that, so
no.
That's what it was. You picked Alabama to win in a blowout.
Yes,
so
I did.
you instead of being right, you were double wrong.
Yes, I was nowhere close to being right. Yeah.
Wow.
Good. I got you.
Thanks for bringing that back up.
That was crazy. And people, I mean, it's amazing. I've determined, and I'm guilty. So I'm not trying to distance myself from this reality, but I would like to point out I'm aware of it. I've determined that we are, in the social media world and age, we have become a culture that entertains ourselves. And to entertain ourselves, we must constantly change narratives when we get bored. So because we are bored, we are, with the current college football situation, last night's result gave us a new thing. So today, people are jumping off the old narrative, which was, Nick Saban, Alabama, the process, how he's been able to do it, and all of that, into nobody wants to work for Nick Saban. He's the meanest coach in the world. He wears coaches down. That's why they have such high turnover at Alabama. When you have high turnover at Alabama, you can't be as good and you're not going to win. And Dabo Swinney he's the friendliest guy in the neighborhood. He's having everybody over for, cookies and ice cream and we're playing horseshoes and cornhole. And I mean, he's the friendliest guy, and everybody wants to work there. And those Clemson coaches, man, they just gave Alabama's coaching. They just took them to school. I mean, I'm at the coaches' convention, but they got their own clinic last night. Clemson just gave it to them. That's the narrative today. Like, overnight, Alabama suddenly is doing a bunch of things wrong.
There's no doubt.
Overnight. Like, literally last night, we just finally got revealed. Like, they finally were exposed. Finally. They finally have it's been smoke and mirrors, it's been a mirage. I mean, all this Saban crap is just a bunch of garbage. I mean, it's unbelievable. So that's not my take on what happened last night. My take is that Clemson is a really stinking good football program, and that should not be a surprise. Why are we surprised? Like, we've been talking about this for 3 years. They've won 2 of the last 3 national championships. Have they missed the college football playoff? Have they been in every one of them?
No, I think they missed the first one, the very first one.
Okay, so they've been in every one but the first one. And now we're suddenly going to be surprised that they are really good because they won in blowout fashion last night. Now, that's unusual, but I thought some unusual things happened in the game. There was a misread by Tua early, pick six. There was a overthrown interception. Again, same type of coverage that fooled them the first time. We thought they were in man, they were in zone. Somebody lags off, and another interception is down there inside the 20. And then when they're moving the ball again, they inexplicably do the fake field goal, which I don't know why you're doing a fake field goal there. I don't know why you don't just go for it if you're not going to kick it. But all of that led to energy and life and momentum for Clemson. And then Clemson made some unbelievable plays. I mean, they just made some incredible plays. I mean, they had some their receivers, which Houston not mentioned on our show yesterday, well, it could be the difference in the game. Clemson's receivers, they just balled out. And Trevor Lawrence, after going, 3 and out the first 2 or 3 times they had the ball, gets a couple things going, and they hit a play call, and away we go. And it can happen. And Alabama hadn't been in that position all year. And, look, I don't know if Tua is any different. 2 games ago, he didn't play well against Georgia. It was hurt. Last game out, he played well, but Oklahoma hasn't played defense in a couple of years at least. And then, last night he's playing a good defense again, and it's challenging again. So, when you're the best team and everybody has you on the front of the radar or at the top of the priority list that they're looking at, they begin to see everything you do, and they begin to see what's starting to work against you, and then they start doing it, and more people start doing it. And it's going to be interesting to see moving forward how that, if it does affect Alabama. But I think what you have is Clemson's a really good program, and Georgia's a really good program, and we know that. We know that, and it's been shown. Georgia has had Alabama on the ropes a couple of times the last couple of years. Clemson's been right there, and last night they were the better team, and looks like they were the better team in college football this year. And so no longer, the big difference is no longer do we all think that Alabama's just head and shoulders above everybody else, but we really shouldn't have been thinking that anyhow, because we've seen Georgia and we've seen Clemson the last 2 or 3 years and what they've been able to accomplish and how close they are.
Yeah, I agree. And, Bo, you brought it up right there about teams understanding what works against Alabama and adapting, and more teams will start to notice this stuff and do the type of stuff that Clemson was doing. Tom Rinaldi was on the show yesterday, and one of the things he talked about with you was the humility that Saban has to be open to new ideas and to change what he's doing to stay ahead of everybody else. I think we've seen that before, in terms of Saban adjusting. You've obviously spent time around the program in training camp. Is that something you see him being able to do again?
Oh, absolutely. He's not married to a system, I don't think. I think he's married to a work ethic and a work process that figures out constantly what needs to happen, what needs to change. And the biggest fuel, some of us have a double espresso when we get tired. For Nick Saban, the biggest fuel is what happened last night, that's like a year's worth of double espresso supply for Nick Saban, losing that game, losing it the way they lost it. And what I mean is that it just not like he lacks energy anyhow, but it just further drives him to figure it out. He's all about figuring it out. That's who he is. He's all about figuring it out. And if you notice, every time the coach who's good at anything gets fired, it seems like Nick Saban's bringing the guy in for download. They learn some stuff from Nick from watching for 2 or 3 days, but he's just pumping them for information. He would have hired Hugh Freeze if the SEC would have allowed him to. because Hugh Freeze beat him twice. He's interested in that information. He's interested in what he can learn. And I just remembered something that's maybe applicable here. Here's how far Clemson has come. Remember when Terry Bowden was the head coach at Clemson and Alabama crushed him in like one of those early non-conference neutral site matchups? I think the game was in Atlanta.
Right.
And Terry Bowden called Nick Saban like later, and a week or two later or whatever, and said, "Hey, what did you see in preparation for us? I mean, how can we get better?" And some people made fun of him for that. I thought it was a smart thing to do, but that's how far Clemson's come. Now it may be the other way around where you start copying a little bit of what Clemson's doing. But it wouldn't be the first time. I mean, this is, Alabama started copying other people's offenses. And that's how they were able to be so prolific on that side of the ball the last couple of years. And, maybe the irony is that they've gone too far that way. And last night, Clemson looked like they might be a more physical team.
Bo, I know you got to run. I want to get your thoughts on one more thing, though, real quick. In the lead up to this game, I was seeing all of these stories being written about the offensive revolution in college football and how it's all about offense and you win championships with offense now and all that. At the end of the day, though, I found it interesting that it was Clemson's defense that really made the difference last night. And I still think it's defense that determines whether or not you're going to win a championship.
Well, Georgia, too, right? I mean,
sure.
The last team to really have Alabama on the ropes. I mean, Georgia had a lot of pressure on the quarterback in that game. And, if Tua doesn't go down, who knows what happens? Maybe they win the game. But you got to have both. I think if you go look at the top 20 or the national championship contenders every year, you're going to find that they're both, they're in the top 25, both on offense and defense. Now, one might be a lot stronger. You might be, 24 on offense and 8 on defense or vice versa. But, Oklahoma might be the best example of being good on one side of the ball is not good enough. And we've seen over the years when a team's really good at ball control and they're really good on defense, but they can't put up points. So you got to have both. You got to have defensive linemen that can affect the quarterback and plug up the run game. And you got to have, we're seeing teams win the national championship and have great quarterback play. So it's cyclical, and I think one of the things that happens is offense does allow teams that don't have as much talent schematically to really put pressure on a defense and compete. But there's a ceiling to that, right? So when you're talking about getting to the college football playoff or winning championships, that's when we get into the conversation of having to be good at both to really be successful.
No doubt about it. Bo, enjoy the coaches convention. Thanks for joining us today, and let us know if you run into John L. down there. Would love to know what he's up to.
There went Chris Klonakis. Remember him?
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Offensive line coach for Petrino when he was at Arkansas.
Wow. Well, hey, there you go.
I have not seen Petrino yet. I'm looking for him.
He'll just turn around and walk away.
He's done that before.
All right, Bo. Be good. We'll talk to you again maybe tomorrow, and we'll see you back in here on Thursday.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Appreciate all you guys are doing.
Yep. We'll see you. All our guests join us on the First Security Bank hotline. We've been talking to our good friends at First Security about making better happen at home, at work, and out in the community. That's something they know a lot about. First Security, only in Arkansas, so they're committed to helping local individuals, families, and businesses reach their goals, whatever they might be. To learn more about the many ways First Security is making better happen, visit fsbank.com today.
This is Sports Talk, streaming live on sportandstory.com.
The Ozarks, one incredible store featuring Ozark Sportsman Supply and Ozark Outpost Clothing and Footwear. The Ozarks, 23,000 square feet of incredible products, where every day is a sale. At the Ozarks, prices are marked down upon arrival on almost every product, which means they are immediately passing big savings on to you. Bring the whole family into the Ozarks for a shopping experience like no other. Where else can you find firearms, camo, and the hottest boutique brands all in one place? It's only at the Ozarks. They also have the best selection of gun safes in the region with free delivery within 30 miles. Don't forget, they have a live fire 15-lane indoor gun range as well. At the Ozarks, you'll find hunting and fishing supplies, bikes, kayaks, knives, boots, you name it, they've got it. So much for the whole family to discover at the Ozarks. Check out Ozark Sportsman Supply and Ozark Outpost Clothing and Footwear, Highway 412 west of Springdale in Tawnytown. Be sure to follow them on social media to see what daily sales are happening at the Ozarks.
This is Sports Talk with Bo Mattingly.
They talking about Wommack Henry.
First of all, welcome to the SEC. That's the family. Teams are so familiar with one another that it's going to be tick for tack in a ball game. I think someone told me it was like 16 lead changes. We were up, they were up, we were up, they were up, and even as they mounted a surge right there at the end. We didn't knock some free throws down, but let's give them credit. They made some plays. I thought Starks was fantastic tonight. He played probably one of his better games. It seemed like he loves playing against us. I think because of the floor space style that he can get in there and create, and he's so shifty. Also, Flag, he had a great game for them also. But I was so proud of our guys. I thought our guys, they matched the intensity, they matched the physicality that A&M brings to the table. I think they're plus 6, 7, I don't know what on the rebound. And obviously, we hadn't done as good a job as we were capable of doing. But tonight, I thought there was a big difference in the game. We talk about winning in the paint. I thought that was the biggest difference. But then also, we went 1 for 14 from the three-point line, I think, in the second half. I mean, Mason goes like goose egg in the first half. Second half, we ended up making, I think, 4 in a row. Mason made 3 of them. Big shots. And so this win goes to our total team. Daniel was actually saddled with 4 fouls when we actually made a real good surge with Gabe Usoborn out there. I thought he was big, 7 rebounds for it, fixing things on defense. Adriel Bailey. And what can you say about Jalen Harris? That's why I said you can continue to talk about this team. Deji Seals, he was big in the first half. He kept us in it, scored 13 points.
When did you know you were going to get fired? Probably the first day I took the job.
They've won the championship of life.
If you're not giving any kind of effort and thing we think is ridiculous, you wear orange.
I don't get bring the head comb.
The cut of the day.
The ball came through the basket. It was at 0. Game's over. Woo! Dogs win.
Presented by Bud Anderson Home Services. One call does it all. 855-GO-CALL-BUD.
Do you know what you don't know?
Filling in for Bo today, here is Bart Pullman.
Yeah, the cut of the day can't be anything other than the Les Miles Dr. Pepper commercial that aired last night during the national championship game. I mean, it was just perfect.
Legendary coach Les Miles. Game's over.
Call me by my real name, the Mad Hatter.
Why are you on the roof, coach?
I thought it'd be dramatic.
Well, it is. Come on down. That trophy's practically a lightning rod.
A lightning what?
Some of Les Miles' finest work.
Wow.
The laugh, really.
It was.
I mean, just a great evil laugh.
Yeah.
Like an iconic evil laugh there from Les Miles. We thought we would compare it to some of our favorite laughs that we've had through the years,
Quite
like,
a few,
Ed Ogeron. Another one from Edo. Mike Leach. A lot of chuckles there. Scott Farrell, our guy. We haven't heard from him in a while.
I need to check in on him.
And Alyssa Orange.
Yes.
And, of course, Kawhi Leonard. the weirdest laugh I have ever heard. But I mean, Les Miles, just a creepy,
the evil laugh.
Creepy laugh there.
I got to give Dr. Pepper credit for that little their Fansville commercial.
You know what? I was far more receptive to it than Larry Culpepper. I was
you did not like Larry.
Yeah, they just drug it on and on for years, and just not for me. The cut of the day brought to you by Bud Anderson. If you plan on replacing your heating and cooling system this spring, call Bud Anderson. They're giving away a free Daikin furnace with the purchase of a 16-SEER Daikin air conditioning system. Call Bud Anderson, 855-GO-CALL-BUD, or you can visit them online at gocallbud.com.
You are listening to Sports Talk, produced by Bart Pullman, directed by Sawyer Radler. Want the latest commentary, interviews, takes, and phone calls?
Anytime, anywhere.
Check out Sports Talk Primetime, Arkansas's premier sports talk podcast. Find it on iTunes or online at sportandstory.com.
Life is better with football. And with First Security, we have the know-how to tackle your needs, plus a local team you can count on. What's your better? Get there with us. First Security. Bank better. FSbank.com, member FDIC. Equal housing lender.
What's your more? Maybe it's more days in flip-flops. On a beach. That you own. In the Caymans. Whatever you'd like more of, Mega Millions from the Arkansas Scholarship Lottery can turn those dreams into reality. And the next drawing is for more than $40 million. So go to your local lottery retailer and get your ticket to more today. This is winning. Call 1-800-522-4700 for Problem Gambling Helpline.
Lindsay Golf Courses range from 27-hole championship to 9-hole par 3s and are making a presence in affordable country club memberships for both individuals and families. Our challenging courses and extensive amenities are designed to attract golfers of all ability levels and offer recreational and social opportunities for members. In Bryant, Hurricane Golf and Country Club. Benton, Long Hills Golf Club. Conway, Centennial Valley Golf and Country Club. Nutters Chapel Golf and Country Club, and in Little Rock, Eagle Hill Golf and Athletic Club. Lindsay Golf Courses. Gentlemen, when it comes to your health, there are numbers every man needs to know. Do you know your numbers? I know mine. I went to the Low T Center. They make it quick and easy to get all your levels checked. It's even covered by most health insurance. If you've been feeling tired and grumpy, have noticed weight gain and a loss of muscle mass, you need to get your levels checked. Low T Center physicians specialize in men's health and are reinventing men's health care. Call 479-439-9485. That's 479-439-9485. Or go to lowtcenter.com.
This is Sports Talk with Bo Mattingly.
I said it's like, I think it's the annual, it's the annual game. Maybe it's the old Southwest Conference Classic or something. I don't know. But I got to talk to the SEC about that one. I mean, it just seemed like it's an annual deal. And but it was a game for the fans. I thought it went down to the wire.
How does it feel? I think the other games they've beaten you guys pretty decisively. How good does it feel to win a tight one like that?
We've been in tight ones all year, Bob. I mean, the games that we've lost, guys, we're like one possession away, one free throw away. So continue the growth of this team. That's what we're looking at. This team is continuing to grow. We're getting more productivity from our bench. And I think that's the biggest attribute. We had 22 points off the bench tonight, and it was much needed. Daniel got in foul trouble at crunch time. And so now we got guys that coming off the bench. They come out and give us some big minutes. Even the free throw that Dez shot in the second half, I thought it was a big free throw. I think it was a 1-point game and put us back up by 2. And so again, it's total team win.
With a young team, how big did you want to know in the conference on the
enjoyed the midnight, Bob. You got another one coming up. We got Florida coming in on Wednesday, so that's what I told them. It's every game's a big game for this young team. We just got to hopefully learn and continue to grow.
Couple more. How much does Coach Watkins get one here too as well?
He hadn't said anything yet, but I'm sure having a chance to come here and coach here, and he got a lot of fun memories here. So. But he's with us now, so I'm sure he's happy with the win.
Last one for Coach.
All right, thank you, guys. All right.
Mike, did you think you had it under control when y'all took that 8-point lead with just over a minute to go?
I thought we'd be able to make free throws to kind of, keep ourselves in a position to win the game. But I've been around this game long enough to know it's not over till it's over. It says 0-0 on the clock, and true to form, that's what took place. And we've been in the same scenario going down the stretch. Isaiah's up on the free throw line, one of your better free throw shooters, and I was hoping he missed that last one, and because nobody had time out, and lo and behold, it happened. So we were fortunate, and that's what you got to be on the road in the SEC. You got to be fortunate. Our league is really, really good, and so I'm happy for our guys. I thought they played their tails off tonight.
You mentioned Joe. You do a line with 9 assists, no turnovers. You got to really like that.
Well, I did, and I thought defensively, I thought he was engaged. I thought he was the calming force out there. I thought he took control out there on the floor and in an environment like this here, because we had some adversity take place. We had a 5-point lead, and boom, they come right back at us. So my hat's off to him. I thought he led our defensive charge. Played a lot of minutes, and but in SEC, that's what happens. You got to do what it takes to win, and so I was proud of him.
Mike, you guys are down by 2. Daniel's on the bench with foul trouble. You're 1 of 14 on threes, and all of a sudden Mason and Joe get hot. What did you think of that stretch? Good timing.
I thought it showed our team, and those guys have been in games in meaningful minutes. When you think about Gabe Usabor and Adrio, those are some guys that have been here.
I know you're gonna.
My good is Coach Z's reaction to the game win. He always laughs at the end of these games, and it makes me laugh.
It was hard fought, baby. And the Razorbacks get out of College Station with a 73-71 win.
It's all dope here.
Answer me now. No way. Sports Talk.
We need to hire a batter coach up there.
Wow. From the Fleet Center of Arkansas Studios. Best prices on commercial trucks.
I'm speaking facts. How about a little decorum in here on a work day?
Filling in for Bo today, here is Bart Pullman.
I think Alabama's going to win the game. I think Nick Saban's going to win his 7th national title, 6th at Alabama. I think when it comes down to it, Alabama's just too good, and I think this will be the best offense that Clemson has faced all year by a wide margin.
That's terrible.
I'm still going to pick Alabama, but I guess like everybody else that's probably picking Alabama, they won't be shocked if Clemson wins the game.
There is
I think it's going to be a good game.
Yeah, there is some doubt.
Psych! That's the wrong number.
I actually expect Bama to win big tonight. I don't think we've seen Alabama play its best game, especially the last 2 games with Georgia. I think we see a really good game from Alabama tonight, and I think they win pretty handedly, and it's not that entertaining.
They suck. No.
I mean, I've gone back and forth day by day. I have not, and I think Clemson's defensive line is deeper than Alabama's deep. Now, Quentin Williams is really good, but I think all the way across, I think this is a 4-man front, and I think they will contain Alabama's running game and put a little more pressure on Tua than what I've seen other teams do.
There you have it. Clay was the only one who was in the ballpark. I mean, Saul might as well have been in a different country.
That wasn't even close.
Sure wish I'd have been on yesterday. I had
Clemson
by 28.
And you're wearing Clemson colors today,
I'm
too.
Sure. Yeah. Exactly 28 points. Dudley picked the exact final score of
yes,
the game.
He did. Yep.
For those of you who didn't know.
Pretty pumped about it,
That's pretty awesome.
It's a big moment for you.
Mm-hmm.
Dudley Dawson is in here with me covering Hog Hoops, recruiting for Hogs Illustrated, WholeHogSports.com. Jason Kersey of The Athletic, also in here now. Jason, what's up, man?
Oh, not much. I'm still pretty shocked by what happened last night, too. If you had a recording of me, I would have said Alabama was going to win easily, too.
It's big of you to admit that.
I'm so stupid. I thought Notre Dame was going to beat Clemson. That's how stupid I am.
Well, as it turned out, Notre Dame put up more of a fight than Alabama did.
Says the Notre Dame fan looking for something.
The stats are the stats. Notre Dame lost by 1 fewer point to Clemson.
And Nick Saban said the game was closer than the score reflected.
They gave up fewer points to Clemson than Alabama did, and most of the points came right after their starting cornerback got hurt. So
what you're saying is Notre Dame's right there. They're right there.
So close.
So close.
I can't even say it with a straight face. It was shocking what happened last night. I used the word bizarre. I thought everything about the game last night was just bizarre. And I'm not saying that to take anything away from Clemson. They obviously were just totally dominant in all aspects of the game. But we saw stuff from Alabama that was bizarre, stuff we have not seen from them really at any point in time under Nick Saban. You had Tua Tagovailoa, easy for you to say.
That'll be coming back at Fridays at 5.
That's the first time. That is the first time I have ever screwed up his name. Tua Tagovailoa.
Tua,
his friends know him.
At the Orange Bowl, the press box announcer totally gave up on trying to say it, and he just said, "Pass by Tua." You know how those press box announcers, they always say first and last name?
Oh, yeah. I mean,
he just gave up about midway through the first quarter.
If you can only get one name right, get the first name right.
And it's an easy enough.
There's no other Tuas.
Right.
There's no confusion.
There's still people around here, wanting to talk about Coach Bulema or
Bulema.
Bulema.
Yeah. Common.
Yeah. So anyway, Tua looked really, really poor. Alabama's offensive line gave him no protection. You saw Nick Saban kind of panic and attempt a fake field goal that was
bizarre.
That had no chance.
I knew
working.
I knew when he dropped a GD in the first 5 minutes they were in trouble.
Yeah.
I thought he was actually pretty calm for most of the game in Saban terms.
Yeah, Saul mentioned this to me earlier when we were talking about the show. And it was one of those expressions that Saban had throughout the night that it was just kind of resigned to the fact that we are getting whooped. They are better than we are. And this is going to happen, and there's nothing that I can do to change that.
I thought the MVP was Brent Venables. I mean, his defense coming from every which way, things they hadn't done all year, and was able to just throw Tua for a loop.
Yeah. I mean, I think what last night did is, Alabama's not going anywhere. I mean, I think that'd be crazy to say. They're still recruiting at a level no one else is recruiting at, all of those things. But I think what last night did is it showed a little chink in their armor, just a little one, I think. And I think they're not so scary anymore because they have not been beaten like that since Nick Saban's been the coach.
Yeah.
I mean, Clemson's now won 2 of the last 3 national titles. Someone else is up there. I mean, they've lost games, but not like that. I don't think they're as scary as they used to be.
I think Alabama has dropped to possibly the number 2 team in the country.
Well, it's certainly.
I'm just saying they're not as scary as they were before last night.
Well, it's certainly clear. I mean, for the longest time, we were operating under this system in which Alabama was clear and away the best program in college football, and that nobody was close to them. What we know now is that Clemson is right there with them, and that it can be done. That you can get up to the same level as Alabama.
And if you lose your top 6 defensive backs, as Alabama did, and we all think they'll just throw another 5-star in there, well, they did, but it didn't work out as well for them. And Riff Raff or Sunshine or whatever you want to call Trevor Lawrence was phenomenal last night.
Here's another thing that we know. If you want to beat Alabama, all you need is a quarterback named Trevor. Trevor Knight beat Alabama. In what is still the most shocking thing I've ever seen in my career.
Crazy.
Yeah.
So,
well,
he's got a
Johnny.
The other part of this is the coaching aspect. And Dudley, you mentioned Venables, and I want to get into him in just a second. Get into his carear path and where he's been and how he's gotten
almost
to where
came here.
Yeah, how he's gotten to where he is now. But the thing that struck me is just how thoroughly outcoached Alabama was in this game. And I used the analogy earlier in the show that it was almost like Brent Venables took Mike Loxley and put him in a box and said, "You cannot get outside of this box."
How you feeling today, Maryland?
Yeah. No kidding.
Oh, man.
And I just think that the toll of having to replace coordinator after coordinator after coordinator, I think we finally saw the cumulative effect of that on Alabama. Again, look, it's one game, but it wasn't just the fact that Alabama lost the game. It was how they lost the game. And it's hard to replace a top coordinator with a top coordinator over and over again. And I think we finally saw that.
Yeah, and I mean, there were several consultants standing over there on the sidelines. You had your life champion coach. They got a lot of TV time last night.
If nothing else, they're the champions of life.
And they have 5-star hearts.
Yes. But I think one of the announcers pointed that out last night. The continuity of the Clemson staff has allowed them to do what they've been doing these last few years, and I do think it. You can only, as you said, you can only go through so many great guys and everything be great. I think, and I go back to, I think Tua was fooled a couple of times by the defense and threw the ball wrong, and we just didn't see that all year. And I was pointing out to Petra, I said, look, he's had 4 interceptions all year, and now he's had 2 in the first quarter, first half, whatever it was.
Yeah. Do you think the program that's about 4 hours to the west of here wishes they hadn't run Brent Venables out of town to bring Mike Stoops back?
That's kind of where I was going with that, is that Oklahoma couldn't get rid of Brent Venables fast enough. And now here he is at Clemson, clearly the best defensive coordinator in college football. I don't think there's any question about that.
And Oklahoma ranked in the hundreds defensively this year.
And it's just funny how things work.
Crazy.
And I want to go back and mention it. When Bobby Petrino took the job here, we know that Lane Kiffin was involved, but we also know that Jeff Long got it down to Will Muschamp and Brent Venables, and I know this because both of their agents called me as if I would have some help here with it.
To be the head coach?
Yes.
Yeah, well,
Okay, I didn't know that.
Muschamp and Venables have talked with us about it openly, about that, how they were both almost the coach here.
Yep, and then Bobby said, I think I can leave during the season, during the NFL season, and he did, and he was here, and we had a 10 o'clock press conference or whatever it was, and away we went. Wow. And Muschamp and Venables went their separate ways.
Wow, that's amazing.
And you mentioned the staff continuity at Clemson and what they've had. So you had 2 guys who showed up at Clemson within a year of each other in Chad Morris and Brent Venables. And both of those guys, well, Venables is still there. The guys who Chad Morris had at Clemson are still there. Talking about their co-offensive coordinators, Jeff Scott, Tony Elliott. Those guys are calling the shots at Clemson now. And so when you do talk about staff continuity, that is an absolute perfect example of what it looks like and what it can do. Now, here's the thing. At some point, those guys are going to get head coaching opportunities. If you keep winning at a level like this, somebody's going to come and hire Tony Elliott. That is going to happen probably sooner rather than later. And he's the guy who really calls the plays for Clemson's offense. And I'm saying all this to kind of segue into something that Dabo Swinney said after the game.
Proud members of the Roy bus. So for all them other teams out there on that bus, hey, listen, I hope that you get a little hope from us and a little inspiration that, hey, if we can do it, anybody can do it.
Is that really true?
No, it's not. You have to have big-time recruiting classes. I think, what is it? There hasn't been any national champion and hadn't had at least 2 top 10 classes in the time they had the athletes there. I mean, 12 is where Arkansas is at. They got a long way to go, but 12 is better than 25 or whatever.
Mm-hmm. So I went back to 2002, the dawn of the recruiting rankings.
You do love your numbers.
I do. Well, they tell a lot of the story. And they point to future success. And I wanted to compare Arkansas's recruiting rankings to Clemson's. And I used 24/7 Sports composite rankings to kind of get an accurate or as accurate as possible view. Do you know what Dabo Swinney's highest ranked recruiting class is at Clemson?
Probably 8th, something like that.
I was going to say like 4.
7th.
Really?
And it was this year's recruiting class.
Okay.
The 2018 signing class.
Yeah, I know.
ranked
I
7th.
never really see them in the top 5. You know, when
Yeah.
He's had a 7th, a 9th, and those are his only, and a 10th, and those are his only top 10 recruiting classes at Clemson.
Wow, that's amazing.
He's had a 16th, an 11th, a 16th, a 15th, but his first 4 years at Clemson, his classes were 36th, 27th, 10th, and 20th, an average of around 23.
Wow.
And, it's interesting because when you compare that to what Arkansas has done, well, that's no different than what Arkansas has done. I'm talking about those first 4 years. Now, there's not the top 10 class at Arkansas, obviously, but a 23 average rank, that's what you see at Arkansas all the time.
Yeah. The issue being that, yes, they got higher recruited classes, but missed on some evaluations, obviously.
Yeah.
And when we talk about staff continuity, I think it's also important to say Clemson was patient with Dabo Swinney.
Very.
I mean, and that's, I think a lot of teams can learn from that. I mean, how many times do we have to hear about Clemsoning and they couldn't beat Florida State and they couldn't win the big one, and they stuck with him and they stayed patient, and look how it's paid off.
And he went 9-5 in his first full year. He took over. He was the wide receiver coach for Tommy Bowden. And when Tommy Bowden left, he took over, coached the last 7 games, I believe, went 4-3 in those games. Terry Don Phillips gives him the full-time job. He goes 9-5 in his first year, but then goes 6-7 in year 2. Then he hires Chad Morris. They sign the number 10 recruiting class in the country, and they go 10-4, and then they went 11-2, and then I believe they went another 11-3 season after that, and then it was off to the races. And it's just 10-4, 11-2, 11-2, 10-3. And it was that win in the Russell Athletic Bowl.
I was there.
Jason remembers it well. A 40-6
disaster
beatdown of Oklahoma that really
I don't
got
think
things.
Clemson viewed it as a disaster.
Oh, it wasn't a disaster. I didn't care whether OU won or lost. It was just a horrible game to cover. It was boring. It was a horrible week. That's an awful bowl. I called it all week the Walmart Sweatpants Bowl.
Ooh, dude.
I still do. Now it's called the Camping World Bowl.
That's funny. I like that. That's good.
The Walmart Sweatpants Bowl. It was a horrible bowl game.
877-447-4040 is the number if you want to get in here. We'll take your calls when we come back. And I want to dig a little bit more into this. And has Clemson and what they've accomplished under Dabo Swinney made you as a fan more confident in what Chad Morris can do at Arkansas? 877-447-4040. Your call's next.
This is Sports Talk, streaming live on sportandstory.com.
Razorback women's basketball is back inside Bud Walton Arena on Sunday, January 13th at 2 p.m. for a matchup with SEC Conference rival Vanderbilt. Tickets are $5 for adults and free for all kids 12 and under. Bring out the family and come have some fun inside the Basketball Palace of Mid-America. Get your tickets at the door or call 1-800-982-HOGS or visit ArkansasRazorbacks.com. Stand side by side with Razorback women's basketball.
Need a vehicle for your business? Fleet Center of Arkansas is your #1 source for all your commercial truck needs. Go by Fleet Center of Arkansas to find huge savings on the highest quality vehicles of your choice. Fleet Center of Arkansas is dedicated to providing quality pre-owned vehicles with a full array of financing options to meet your needs. Stop by Fleet Center of Arkansas in Rogers off Hudson Road and find the right vehicle for the job. View inventory online at FleetCenterLLC.com.
The Ozarks, one incredible store featuring Ozark Sportsman Supply and Ozark Outpost clothing and footwear. The Ozarks, 23,000 square feet of incredible products, where every day is a sale. At the Ozarks, prices are marked down upon arrival on almost every product. which means they are immediately passing big savings on to you. Bring the whole family into the Ozarks for a shopping experience like no other. Where else can you find firearms, camo, and the hottest boutique brands all in one place? It's only at the Ozarks. They also have the best selection of gun safes in the region with free delivery within 30 miles. Don't forget, they have a live fire 15-lane indoor gun range as well. At the Ozarks, you'll find hunting and fishing supplies, bikes, kayaks, knives, boots, you name it, they've got it. So much for the whole family to discover at the Ozarks. Check out Ozark Sportsman Supply and Ozark Outpost Clothing and Footwear, Highway 412 west of Springdale in Tawnytown. Be sure to follow them on social media to see what daily sales are happening at the Ozarks.
This is Sports Talk with Bo Mattingly.
D-Mac, what's that like? It's probably a hard choice. Which is better, the silence of a really loud place like Death Valley or the roar of a Razorback Stadium in Little Rock or Fayetteville? Which one's better, the loud or the quiet?
I gotta say, just for the logistics of it, a quiet stadium in LSU, man.
Yeah.
You gotta say that right there. But like I said, it's nothing like hearing their Razorback, hearing their roar of the Razorback fans, man. But I definitely love to hear a quiet stadium after a game like LSU.
No question. I mean, is LSU the team that you enjoyed beating the most?
I would have to say so, because I feel like LSU had the most trash talkers. Them in Alabama, I would say. So those two right there were definitely some of the games that anytime we played them, I knew that it was going to be a hard-hit game, and we had to come with it.
Decade in the NFL, and we're talking about your college career going into the College Football Hall of Fame, but you spent a decade in the NFL. What will you remember about that?
Well, it seems like the time flew by. I think about, I feel like I just came out of college a year ago, but, I've been retired for a year now, but I feel like one of my biggest things, like my NFL career didn't go the way that I wanted to go with injuries and everything, but being able to play for two historic franchises and iconic owners, with Jerry Jones and Al Davis, man, it was great. It just was a blessing to be able to get into the NFL and play as long as I did as a running back, and I was just very thankful to.
So what are you doing now, D-Mac, now that you've retired?
I have a 10-month-old daughter, which she actually just turned 10 months old yesterday, so I've been spending time with her, enjoying my time at home, enjoying the off time. I hadn't wanted to jump back into anything right now, just rush back into anything, so that way I can have time to enjoy with her and, figure out exactly what I want to do and not just rush into something.
That's awesome, man. Are you in Little Rock? You living in Little Rock?
No, I'm still in the Dallas area.
Dallas area? Okay, man.
Uh-huh.
Well, listen, it's so great catching up with you. We wish you nothing but the best. You've given Razorback fans a lifetime of memories. You deserve the College Football Hall of Fame. I know it doesn't make up for not getting the Heisman, but we think you deserve that too. So today we celebrate.
You are dialed into Sports Talk. Get in on the show at 877-447-4040. Filling in for Bo today, here is Bart Pullman.
Let's go to the phone. Scott is in Ash Flat. Scott, welcome into Sports Talk.
Gentlemen, how's it rolling?
It's great, man.
Outstanding. Hey, Bart, I just wanted to piggyback on something you was talking about there.
Go for
leading into the break, and then I got some little quick something for Dudley, if that's all right.
Absolutely.
I think Dabo got hired in 2008 at Clemson, and I believe Morris come on board. His first year was 11, I think. And
that's right.
I think he gave Dabo his first 10-win season, and then couple years afterwards, while he was still there, he got him in the 10-win mark, which a lot of that's they recruiting. I definitely think that he can that he's going to help us in that area, the recruiting area, and then just his track record. I think he's going to do fine. You just got to give the guy a couple of full recruiting classes, or maybe 3. to really find out what's going on. You know, you've seen these coaches that's been given a bit of a chance and a few years to build on it. You know what good they've done. You know, Dabo included, and I just think it's excellent that we got him on board.
I think he's got an opportunity to be a very good coach here. With the patience thing, with Arkansas having won 6 of their last 26 games, I think that there's a certain segment of the fan base who is has a bit of unrest and will want it to come quicker. But I think if he continues to show hope, which is what Coach B did for the first few years before all the coaches started leaving, he started replacing them with assistants to the assistants.
Yeah,
assistants.
Continuity.
Yeah.
Like y'all were talking, continuity. Exactly.
What you got for Dudley?
I'm worried about our defensive backfield, Dudley. Did I've been out of the recruiting, ain't heard nothing. Did Devin Bush commit?
Devin Bush not only committed, he signed on the last day of the signing period. So you got him and Greg Brooks. Greg Brooks is actually one of 9 early enrollees that showed up here today on campus, and they're excited. He's excited about the opportunity to play next season, especially with Ryan Pulley declaring for the NFL draft. I do think they'll lose, and lose is an interesting word. Miles Brooks is a young man who they got as a safety out of Hoover, who didn't finish the season with his team, and I doubt that in fact, I think he'll make an announcement here pretty soon that he's reopening his recruitment, but that will be because Arkansas has made that decision and not him.
Well, grades are his problem, isn't it?
No.
No? Okay, well, what about the Adonis Ote kid?
Adonis Ote is fine, and in fact, I talked to Trey Knox right before I came on air here, and he feels really good that Adonis Ote is going to be here. The one that has some great issues is Dante Walker, a defensive end from Georgia, and then you also have a Monte Spivey who has to get some work done as well, and obviously neither one of those kids signed early.
Well, I heard something about somebody might decide January 19th is I can't remember the kid's name.
His name is Jalen Catalan. I don't know whether he's going to decide January 19th or what. Last time we talked to him, he hadn't announced a firm date. He keeps moving the goalpost, but feel good about Arkansas' shot with him right now.
So Hudson and the kid, the wide receiver, they're still in the fold.
Yes, Hudson Henry will sign in February, as will John David White, either as a preferred walk-on here, Missouri, or I can't remember the other school, or maybe at a smaller school where he has a scholarship. But if I were to bet right now, I'd say both Henry and White will be wearing Razorback hats on February 6th.
What about the kid from Warren, the wide receiver?
He's fine. He just didn't sign early because his grandma was going to be out of town, and to my knowledge, that she basically raised him and wanted to be around. But he's not going anywhere besides Arkansas.
Well, after the excuse me, one more quick question. After the February 6th signing day, are we still looking about the same on rankings, or you know what I mean, or could we bump up a little, bump back a little?
I would anticipate that Arkansas will finish in the 12 to 15 range in rivals and the 18 to 22 range in the other two.
Good stuff, Dudley.
Got it all out there, Scott?
Got it, man.
All right, man.
All right, Bubba.
Thanks.
To piggyback on that, there were, as I said, 8 different kids who are reporting here to campus that are on scholarship, and Drew Vest, also the preferred walk-on offensive lineman who's enrolling early, which I believe is the first ever early enrollee preferred walk-on here.
Well, I was planning on doing a full segment with Dudley on recruiting a little later, but we kind of knocked that out right there. So thanks to Scott for taking care of that. Jason, what'd you make of all that?
Sounds like Dudley knows what he's talking about.
Great. I just wanted to. I didn't want to forget anybody to forget that you were here. Because,
thank you.
Because we kind of.
I appreciate that. No, I was just I think it's just following kind of from a distance now. I've been very interested in how well he's recruited.
Yeah, it really has been unreal off of a 2-10 season, and obviously they didn't have anything when they got a lot of these kids even before the season started, and I've been very impressed that nobody dropped off along the way, and that tells you two things to me. Number one, that they believe in the coaches and what they're doing, and number two, they all think they can come play right away.
Did you think people were going to decommit as they started losing those games?
I it's just logically that would happen, but
we talked about it all season.
Yeah, they've absolutely sold these kids to the big offensive lineman, Joseph Stone. They basically waived him, and I think that the same thing is happening with Miles Brooks. And if Dante Walker doesn't get his grades, then you mix it around a little bit. But it's been very impressive, and I don't know exactly how they're doing it, but they've got these kids overwhelmed with, we're going to come in here and turn it around right away.
When we come back, we are going to go back out to Santa Clara. Well, not literally Santa Clara, but to the national championship game, and we'll hear from ESPN's Chris Lowe, get his thoughts on what Clemson's beatdown of Alabama means for the future of both programs.
This is Sports Talk, streaming live on sportandstory.com.
Need a vehicle for your business? Fleet Center of Arkansas is your #1 source for all your commercial truck needs. Go by Fleet Center of Arkansas to find huge savings on the highest quality vehicles of your choice. Fleet Center of Arkansas is dedicated to providing quality pre-owned vehicles with a full array of financing options to meet your needs. Stop by Fleet Center of Arkansas in Rogers off Hudson Road and find the right vehicle for the job. View inventory online at FleetCenterLLC.com.
Hey, it's Bo. Gentlemen, I believe the greatest wealth is your health. Be sure to take care of yours. I personally recommend going to the Low T Center to get all of your levels checked. That's where I got my levels checked. They make it quick and easy. Low T Center exclusively treats men, and they offer a comprehensive health assessment. Most health insurance is accepted, and they'll even verify it for you. Be sure to call 479-439-9485. That's 479-439-9485. Or go to lowtcenter.com. Low T Center, reinventing men's healthcare.
This is Sports Talk with Bo Mattingly.
So you're the running back, and that brings a lot of attention and a lot of excitement. You're touching the ball a lot. You're rushing for 1,000 yards every year. That's awesome. That's great. But now they tell you, hey, D-Mac, you're going to get to throw the ball. I mean, isn't that like every running back's dream?
Oh, yes. It definitely was. Like I said, I played quarterback in high school, and I really enjoyed it. So to have opportunity to stand back there and take a snap on the center and raise up and throw the ball, it was like heaven for me.
And there were some throws now. I mean, you threw a few down there 30, 40 yards down the field. I was just watching some of that today. It wasn't like just short passing.
Oh, yeah. Like I said, I felt like I was a decent quarterback at the time in high school, but I was a lot better running back. So I had a lot of faith in my arm, and the coaching staff had a lot of faith in my arm, and, they trusted me to make the right decision back there with the ball, and, that's all I could ask for.
So when you got to Oakland, you're a first-round pick. Lane Kiffin's the coach. Did you think maybe he was going to give you a chance to throw it? Did you ask him? Did you say, hey, I want you to know I can throw it. Will you let me throw it?
I definitely tried to lobby for a couple passes out there. They weren't too keen on having a running back throw the ball at the time, so it was something I got to throw a few halfback passes here and there, but I definitely enjoyed it.
Darren McFadden's our guest. All guests join us on the First Security Bank hotline. He's announced today as part of the class that will be inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame. I know all your memories are probably special at Arkansas. You had so many highlights. Is there one game? Is there one moment? Is there anything that stands out above the others a little bit?
The LSU game, hands down. They were #1 in the country, and nobody even thought we had a chance to beat them. To go down there and knock them off, that's definitely hands down for me.
What did you see as a running back? When I watch you run, I mean, you hit the hole so fast and so hard. What do you think your greatest attribute was, and what did you see as you're running the ball?
I would say one of my strongest points probably was the one cut and go. I wasn't the type of guy that wanted to do a lot of juking around and stuff. I wanted to get one cut, put my foot in the ground, and get going. And I feel like I had a pretty quick acceleration to hit a hole. And I have to give a lot of credit to the offensive lineman that I had. Those guys open holes, I just tell them, give me a second, and I'm going to hit them. And they did that for me a whole lot, and it was just a joy to be able to run behind some of the guys that I did.
Do you think you should have won a Heisman Trophy?
Of course, so yeah. I definitely believe so for sure.
Yeah.
This is how I tell people. My sophomore year, I can understand because I guess I came onto the scene late, and they didn't want to give it to any sophomores at the time. And so when my junior year came around, there's nothing to take anything from what Tebow did because he had a heck of a year and did a great job. And he definitely deserved it, but I felt like I should have won a Heisman that year also.
Yeah, I think every Razorback fan agrees with you. And what you did, I mean, we talked about it a minute ago, is sort of revolutionary, with what you were a part of at the Wildcat. And I mean, you hadn't seen running backs do that in this era, not like you did. And that was a really impressive feat, and the numbers that you put together were incredible. When you look back on it, it was incredible. You had a 321-yard rushing performance against South Carolina. I remember that game. What were you thinking as that game was going on?
And now, the Ozark Outpost Casual Clothing and Footwear Hog Update.
Florida comes into Bud Walton tomorrow looking to steal a win from Arkansas like South Carolina did to them on Saturday.
Every night it's going to be a war. Every game is tough. Teams are good, whether they play at home or on the road. So you better be able to protect the home court. I think that's the biggest key. You got to protect the home court.
Tip-off at 7:30 on the SEC Network. Some football notes for you. Ryan Pulley has decided to forego his senior season and declare for the NFL Draft. The cornerback making the announcement yesterday on Twitter. And Dre Greenlaw has been invited to the NFL Combine. On the national stage, the Clemson Tigers are national champions once again, defeating Alabama 44-16.
I just have a feeling that I didn't do a very good job for our team, with our team, giving them the best opportunity to be successful. I always feel that way, but particularly in this case, never really ever got comfortable with what we needed to do to win this game.
I'm Melissa Orange for the Big Trail Nation, and that's your Hog Update.
Filling in for Bo today, here is Bart Bowman.
Thanks to listen to the Hog Update, brought to you by Ozark Sportsman Supply and Ozark Outpost Casual Clothing. It's now also a working man's or woman's paradise. That's right, the Ozarks is now your go-to store for all your work clothes and work footwear needs. They've got Carhartt stuff across the board: coats, jackets, shirts, tees, work boots, and more. Why go anywhere else when you can get it all in one place at the Ozarks, Ozark Sportsman Supply, and Ozark Outpost Casual Clothing on Highway 412 West, just outside of Springdale in Tawnytown. It's well worth the short drive. I want to go to the First Security Bank hotline now and bring in our friend, ESPN college football writer Chris Lowe. Chris, how are you? Have you recovered from last night?
Well, I'm doing great, and we all love those 4-hour plus games, don't we? At some point, we're going to reach 5-hour games. I don't. Hopefully not too. Hopefully, I'll be retired by then. But I think they're coming.
Oh, I don't think there's any question about it, Chris. The word I used earlier in the show to describe, and I've used it all day to describe that game last night, was bizarre. And I don't mean that to take anything away from Clemson. I mean, certainly they were dominant in just crushing Alabama, but it was bizarre what we saw from Alabama, and that we saw things from them we haven't seen them do before, whether this season or really under Saban at all.
Yeah. Well, no, I think you're right. I mean, when's the last time we've seen Alabama get on that kind of stage in a title game and a money game and play that poorly? Now, you're right. Clemson had a lot to do with it. But typically when Alabama has gotten there, they have played A football, certainly B-plus football, and they weren't close to that last night. They moved the ball, but they hurt themselves. They turned the football over. They didn't finish drives. You had the fake field goal that blew up in their face. No, it was very un-Alabama-like, but again, they were playing a team that very much mirrors Alabama and built the same way Alabama was from the inside out. 3 or 4 or 5 pros in the defensive line, and a quarterback that I think is probably going to end up being, if he stays healthy and continues to progress, will be a generational type quarterback. So everything sort of added up against Alabama. But I agree. Having seen Alabama a ton over the years, 2 things surprised me more than anything else. Number one, that Alabama did not play as clean or as good a game as we're used to seeing them play on that stage. And number 2, I just didn't think Clemson would be able to protect in the offensive line the way they were. And as good as Trevor Lawrence was, as good as Justin Ross was, to me, the story of the game was Clemson's offensive line, because they gave him time to throw. They were able to run the ball at times. Collectively, that Clemson offensive line, in my mind, was the MVP of the game.
Dabo Swinney has often referred to over the past couple of years as the Roy bus, the rest of y'all bus. And I think it's pretty clear now that they aren't on that bus anymore and haven't been maybe for the past couple of years. But are these 2 programs, Chris, now equal when you consider what they've done over the last couple of years? I mean, at least in the college football playoff era.
I don't know if they're equal. I think Alabama, when you look at what they've done, let's say since they won back-to-back championships in 11 and 12. So I think it's, to me, Alabama still has a little bit of a lead. But if you just look at the college football era, college football playoff era, which is what you asked, then I think they're dead even. I mean, each one's won 2 national championships in the last 4 years, 2 and 2. Here's one for you. Since Clemson lost to Alabama in the 2015 national championship game, remember that was a great football game that was back and forth, and Alabama was able to win it. Since that loss, Clemson overall is 41-3. 41-3 with 2 national championships. They're 15-1 in that stretch against nationally ranked teams. And look at the teams they beat in that span. They've beaten Oklahoma. They've beaten Ohio State. They've beaten Alabama twice. Now they've beaten Notre Dame. They've beaten, you go right on down the line, Texas A&M. They've beaten pretty much any traditional power or any blue blood you put in front of them. They've beaten them. So they're right there. If you just look at a snapshot of the college football playoff here, I think they're right there with Alabama.
Visiting with ESPN college football writer Chris Lowe on the First Security Bank hotline, talking about last night's national championship game. Chris, this is maybe too broad a question, or maybe it's rather too specific, because I know we're just talking about one game. But when I watched the game last night and I saw what Clemson was doing to Alabama on both sides of the ball, I couldn't help but wonder whether or not all the coaching turnover finally caught up with Alabama. When you're having to replace assistants and coordinators year after year after year, eventually, even for the best coaches, your luck kind of runs out there, right?
I think to a degree. I think if you look at this entire year, though, Alabama, especially offensively, revolutionized who they were. I mean,
no doubt, yeah.
When you look at the way they played and what they're able to do and how much more equipped they were to win games in the 30s and 40s. So I'm a little hesitant just to say that it caught up with them. What I will say is this. Defensively, this year probably was as big a burden on Saban as any, because over the past few years, he's always had a Jeremy Pruitt, a Kirby Smart, a Kevin Steele, a Will Muschamp, somebody like that knows his defense inside out and had been with him. He had a collection of a couple of those guys on his staff. This year, the youngest staff he's had on defense, and not to say they're not good, but not guys that he had with him and knew his defense inside and out the way he did, which probably put more burden on Saban defensively than we've seen in a while. And I think that was a factor. And, the other thing, too, I thought Alabama looked a little heavy-legged, a little tired last night. And, hey, both teams probably were. It's their 15th game. So that made, you look at, practice and the way, of course, Saban's been on that stage a million times, and no one's managed that situation better than him. But they did look a little heavy-legged, and not having their best pass rusher, Christian Miller, with a hamstring was a huge factor as well.
Chris, a lot of the talk going into the game, rather, was about how fans might be fatigued, might have Alabama-Clemson fatigue. I kind of look at it the other way, though, in that I'm not sure we give these two programs enough credit for what they've done. You know, I went back and looked at the four major sports. In the NBA, since the merger in 1970, only 2 times in the history of the league have the same two teams met for the title in 3 out of 4 years. In Major League Baseball, it's only happened twice in the live ball era. It hasn't happened in the NFL, and it's only happened once in NHL history. I just feel maybe the other way, that these two programs don't get enough respect for what they're doing.
Well, I mean, I know I'm showing my age here, but were we fatigued when Boston and L.A. played all those great series in hoops, you know, back in the 80s?
Right.
I mean, those were great games, a great rivalry, great series. I think Bama and Clemson has morphed into that in college football. They were clearly the two best teams in college football, have been for the last few years. I mean, I like seeing excellence. I like seeing the two best. I'll bet you, when it's all said and done, the number of players that played in that game last night that will play in the NFL, not guys that just simply will be drafted, but will play, will be somewhere between 30 and 40. There'll be that many when it's all said and done. I mean, I like seeing that type of talent, that type of collection of talent on the field at one time. You know, and if other people have a problem with it, you know, you need to catch up, invest more, do more, start beating these teams. I think it was a lot to do about nothing. Yes, I think fans, I understand fans get tired, especially, you know, if you're Florida State or you're South Carolina or you're Tennessee or Georgia or Auburn in the SEC, and you see these teams that you've got to beat on the field who are constantly playing for national championships. Yeah, it gets old. You get tired of that. But you know what? That's where we are right now in college football. And these two teams recruit and develop and coach better than anybody else in the sport right now.
Chris, I'll get you out of here with this. The other thing that struck me as I was watching the game last night was just how impactful Clemson's defense was, how good they were up front, what they were doing to Alabama's offensive line, how they were covering the Alabama receivers. There was a lot of talk heading into the game about the offensive revolution in college football and how offense, you know, is paving the way for champions now. At the end of the day, though, it was Clemson's defense that got it done. I'm just curious what you thought about that.
Well, first of all, the game's changed. It really has changed a ton over the last 5 to 8 years, and probably more so on offense, where defenses have had to catch up and do different things and recruit differently. I mean, Saban will tell you, the way he's recruited, you got to be able to recruit guys that can be on the field every down, that can play in space. But to answer your question, go back. I'll give you and everybody that's listening a little exercise. Go back and find me the last team that's won a national championship that was average or below average on defense, and look at statistically where every team that's won it over the last 10, 15, 20 years ranked. Clemson right up there statistically, defensively as good as anybody. And you can go right down the road the last few years, Alabama, Clemson, you know, Florida State in 2013. You still have to be really good on the defensive side of the ball. You got to be able to rush the passer. You got to be able to make big plays and negative plays on defense. And we saw that last night from Clemson. You know, they set the tone with the pick six. So yes, the game has changed, and you're going to have games throughout the season where you got to outscore people. But I just don't think it's possible to win a national championship unless you're really good up front defensively and you're able to create big plays and take the football away.
He's Chris Lowe, covering college football for ESPN and ESPN.com. Kind enough to join us. I know it's been a whirlwind past couple of days, Chris, so really appreciate you taking the time for us today.
You bet, man. It's always a pleasure. You guys have a great day.
You too. Thanks, Chris. Chris Lowe, ESPN, with us on the First Security Bank hotline. He's been joining us throughout the college football season. First Security Bank has been serving Arkansas and only Arkansas since 1932. That means you get friendly service from local bankers, from personal banking to business to mortgage. First Security is here for you. The SEC Report coming up next.
This is Sports Talk, streaming live on sportandstory.com.
Life is better with basketball, and with First Security. We have the know-how to assist with your needs, plus a local team you could count on. What's your better? Get there with us. First Security. Bank better. FSBank.com, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
The best burger in the state is now in Fayetteville. That's right. CJ's Butcher Boy Burgers is proud to have our second location right here in Razorback Nation. Located on West Weddington Drive, we're excited to serve fresh, quality burgers, hand-cut fries, shakes and malts for the best pregame or postgame meal to cheer on the Hogs in every season. Make CJ's Butcher Boy Burgers your new Fayetteville food destination. Opening at 11 a.m. December 28th on Weddington Drive. When all you do are burgers, they have to be the best.
The Ozarks, one incredible store featuring Ozark Sportsman Supply and Ozark Outpost clothing and footwear. The Ozarks, 23,000 square feet of incredible products, where every day is a sale. At the Ozarks, prices are marked down upon arrival on almost every product, which means they are immediately passing big savings on to you. Bring the whole family into the Ozarks for a shopping experience like no other. Where else can you find firearms, camo, and the hottest boutique brands all in one place? It's only at the Ozarks. They also have the best selection of gun safes in the region with free delivery within 30 miles. Don't forget, they have a live fire 15-lane indoor gun range as well. At the Ozarks, you'll find hunting and fishing supplies, bikes, kayaks, knives, boots, you name it, they've got it. So much for the whole family to discover at the Ozarks. Check out Ozark Sportsman Supply and Ozark Outpost Clothing and Footwear, Highway 412 west of Springdale in Tawnytown. Be sure to follow them on social media to see what daily sales are happening at the Ozarks.
Life is better with football. And with First Security, we have the know-how to tackle your needs, plus a local team you can count on. What's your better? Get there with us. First Security. Bank better. FSBank.com, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
This is Sports Talk with Bo Mattingly.
Placed on Daniel that I thought they did a good job of really staying in there and getting out to the shooters. But I think when we open up the floor, now we got a lot of cutting and getting in there in the lanes, getting to the basket. We're in the 1-on-1. And I think Jalen did a good job of finding those guys. I thought those guys did a good job of getting open. And so and that's what you want. You know, we're much better shooting team, and you just didn't know when it's going to come. So we talk about a game of runs. The runs came, and they came from the three-point line.
And Mason, I think, had been 1 for 17 going back to the last game when he hits those threes. He was getting good looks. They just weren't going down. Just a matter of good shooters, getting good shots to finally go.
Well, yeah, that's true, and I thought our guys encouraged him. I thought Jalen, hey, man, you got to shoot the basketball. You open, shoot it. And he did. And then, of course, now you start getting the rhythm and get that confidence, start playing with that confidence. And so that was good to see, especially in big moments.
Unbalanced scheduling, 4th time in 7 seasons, both in the A&M. Would you speak to fun?
I said it's like, I think it's the annual game. Maybe it's the old Southwest Conference Classic or something. I don't know. But I got to talk to the.
They've got Carhartt stuff. I mean, Pretty Bank Hotline
like
now in Brickendale, in Tawnytown.
But it was a game for the fans. It went down to the wire.
How does it feel? I think the other games they've beaten you guys pretty decisively. How good does it feel to win a tight one like that?
We've been in tight ones all year, Bob. I mean, the games that we've lost, guys, we're like one possession away, one free throw away. So continue the growth of this team. That's what we're looking at. This team is continuing to grow. We're getting more productivity from our bench. And I think that's the biggest attribute. We have 22 points.
Now, time for the SEC report.
Somebody said we've got SEC bias. Deal with it. They're the best.
Here is Bart Pullman.
Let's go to Nick Saban after the national championship game loss to Clemson.
If you look at the stats of the game, their yards and all that are fairly equal. But the score, because of turnovers, not finishing drives in the red zone, not getting off the field on 3rd down, giving up explosive plays, score doesn't indicate anything like that.
With all due respect for Nick Saban, who I believe to be the greatest coach in the history of college football, I think the score indicated exactly what we saw. That was a whooping in all areas. I don't care about yards. I don't care about how equal they were in terms of all that. What we saw was a Clemson team that whooped Alabama. They didn't have a ton of yards because Clemson didn't need to have the ball for very long to score on Alabama. I mean, that's pretty much the bottom line. So sorry about you, Alabama. Try again next year. I mean, we know you'll be back in the title game, so who knows?
You are listening to Sports Talk, produced by Bart Pullman, directed by Sire Radler. Want the latest commentary, interviews, takes, and phone calls?
Anytime, anywhere.
Check out Sports Talk Primetime, Arkansas's premier sports talk podcast. Find it on iTunes or online at sportsandstory.com.
Life is better with basketball and with First Security. We have the know-how to assist with your needs, plus a local team you could count on. What's your better? Get there with us. First Security. Bank better. FSBank.com, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
So you hear that the Powerball and Mega Millions jackpots are a chance to win a ridiculous amount of money, and you want to get in on the action. The Quick Pick option makes getting a ticket simple and fast. Just stop by your Arkansas Scholarship Lottery retail store and ask the cashier for a quick pick. Your computer-generated numbers are printed out in seconds, so play your lucky numbers or play it quick. Just play. Either way could be your ticket to more. Call 1-800-522-4700 for Problem Gambling Helpline.
The best burger in the state is now in Fayetteville. That's right. CJ's Butcher Boy Burgers is proud to have our second location right here in Razorback Nation. Located on West Weddington Drive, we're excited to serve fresh, quality burgers, hand-cut fries, shakes and malts for the best pregame or postgame meal to cheer on the Hogs in every season. Make CJ's Butcher Boy Burgers your new Fayetteville food destination. Opening at 11 a.m. December 28th on Weddington Drive. When all you do are burgers, they have to be the best.
Do you enjoy golf? Come live at a Links apartment community and love where you live and play. You get free golf privileges, a resort-style pool, great fitness center, and a whole lot more. Our 9-hole courses offer you challenging and quality golf right outside your front door. All that you need and want, we have. View rates, photos, and apply online today. Or check out a complete list of locations by visiting lindsaymanagement.com. That's lindsaymanagement.com.
Life is better with football and with First Security. We have the know-how to tackle your needs, plus a local team you can count on. What's your better? Get there with us. First Security. Bank better. FSBank.com, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
This is Sports Talk with Bo Mattingly.
Did you think you had it under control when y'all took that 8-point lead with just over a minute to go?
I thought we'd be able to make free throws to kind of, keep ourselves in a position to win the game. But I've been around this game long enough to know it's not over till it's over. It says 0-0 on the clock, and true to form, that's what took place. And we've been in the same scenario going down the stretch. Isaiah's up on the free throw line, one of your better free throw shooters, and I was hoping he missed that last one, because nobody had time out. And lo and behold, it happened. So we were fortunate, and that's what you got to be on the road in the SEC. You got to be fortunate. Our league is really, really good. And so I'm happy for our guys. I thought they played their tails off tonight.
You mentioned Joe. You did a line with 9 assists, no turnovers. You got to really like that.
Well, I did. And I thought defensively, I thought he was engaged. I thought he was the common force out there. I thought he took control out there on the floor and in an environment like this here, because we had some adversity take place. We had a 5-point lead, and boom, they come right back at us. So my hat's off to him. I thought he led our defensive charge. Played a lot of minutes, and but in SEC, that's what happens. You got to do what it takes to win, and so I was proud of him.
Mike, you guys are down by 2 games on the bench with foul trouble. You're 1 of 14 on threes, and all of a sudden Mason and Joe get hot. What did you think of that stretch? Good timing.
I thought it showed our team, and those guys have been in games in meaningful minutes. When you think about Gabe Usabor and Adrio, those are some guys that have been here and they played. And I thought what it did is there was so much attention placed on Daniel. placed on Daniel that I thought they did a good job of really staying in there and getting out to the shooters. But I think when we open up the floor, now we got them out of cutting and getting in there in the lanes, getting to the basket. We're in the 1-on-1. And I think Jalen did a good job of finding those guys. I thought those guys did a good job of getting open. And so that's what you want. You know, we're much better shooting team, and you just didn't know when it's going to come. So we talk about a game of runs. The runs came, and they came from the three-point line.
And Mason, I think, been 1 for 17 going back to the last game, and he hits those threes. He was getting good looks. They just weren't going down. You know, just a matter of good shooters, getting good shots to finally go.
Well, yeah, that's true, and I thought our guys encouraged him. I thought Jalen, hey, man, you got to shoot the basketball. You're open, shoot it. And he did. And then, of course, now you start getting the rhythm and get that confidence, start playing with that confidence. And so that was good to see, especially in big moments.
Unbalanced scheduling, 4th time in 7 seasons, within the A&M. Would you speak to fun?
I said it's like, I think it's the annual game. Maybe it's the old Southwest Conference Classic or something. I don't know. But I got to talk to the SEC about that one. I mean, it just seemed like it's an annual deal. And but it was a game for the fans. I thought it went down to the wire.
How did it feel? I think the other games they've beaten you guys pretty decisively. How good does it feel to win a tight one like that?
We've been in tight ones all year, Bob. I mean, the games that we've lost, guys, we're like one possession away, one free throw away. So continue the growth of this team. That's what we're looking at. This team is continuing to grow.
I know you're going to dig this.
The Bears' season's going to end on a double doink.
Did you hear him get booed off the field?
Yes.
When he's running off the field, he got booed.
Yeah, I don't think that he rolled into a pizza place in Chicago last night and he got a free beer.
This
it's all dope here.
Is
Answer me now.
No way. Sports Talk.
We need to hire a batter coach up there.
Wow.
From the Fleet Center of Arkansas studios. Find the right vehicle for the job.
I'm speaking facts.
How about a little decorum in here on a work day?
Filling in for Bo today, here is Bart Pullman.
Got a little bit of breaking news coming in about the Razorback basketball team. Something that is kind of bizarre to say at this point in the year, but per a report from Jeff Goodman of Stadium, formerly of ESPN, Arkansas guard forward Jordan Phillips is transferring.
I'm not, if this is true, and working to confirm it with the folks around here, but if this is true, I'm not totally surprised, a little bit, but not totally surprised. Obviously, he had some injuries that kept him from getting going, and then really hasn't been given a lot of playing time here lately. And this is similar to what football players do with the if you want to get out of here and be eligible to play it second semester next year at some place, then you get out now.
Interesting development. We will be keeping an eye on it, and as soon as we have any sort of confirmation one way or the other on this report, we will pass that along to you. But the report from Jeff Goodman of Stadium that Jordan Phillips, Arkansas freshman guard / forward, if you will, wingman, is transferring from the Razorback basketball program. We're taking your calls, 877-447-4040. If you want to get in here, Dudley Dawson, whose voice you just heard, he's in here. Jason Kersey of The Athletic as well. And let's hear from Berger in Missouri.
Hey, Bart. I got a comment about last night and a question for you.
Sure.
Comment, I think you touched on it at the end of that interview you just had with defense. I think what hadn't been said enough is Brent Venables and what he did last night with the calls. And he's going to be there at Clemson for a long time. He's dug in. His son is committed there to play there, and he's not going anywhere. So we're gonna be seeing Clemson. They're going to be a juggernaut for quite a while, I think.
Oh, I don't think there's any doubt about that. I think that is a team that is set up, even though they're going to lose a couple of guys on both sides of the ball, they are set up to be even better next year than they were this year.
Yeah, I agree. Hey, my question was, and I tweeted this to you over the holidays, and I don't know if you ever addressed this on air or not, but if you did, I missed it. Has anybody, as far as a quarterback goes for the Hogs, has anybody considered this Malik Henry from Last Chance U? He's got 1 year left of eligibility, and I think he came out second or fourth out of the high school as far as overall of the nation 3 years ago, and he had some problems at FSU, and they say he's got a little bit of a discipline problem, but he apparently says that a lot of that has to do with being on a TV show, you got to have drama and whatnot, and so he says it's kind of overblown. But I'm just interested if anyone's thought about him yet.
I can tell you this: that Malik Henry is an outstanding quarterback, but his issues are always somebody else's fault and not his, and I don't see any love connection going on here, I should say.
Okay, well, that answers my question. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem, Berger. Anything else?
No, good. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for calling. Appreciate it.
877. About the nicest way I could put it.
Yeah, that was well done, Dudley. 877-447-4040, the T-Mobile listener line. If you want to get in here, this Clemson, I'll stop short of saying dynasty, because I don't think if you win 2 titles in 3 years, I don't think that makes you a dynasty.
You don't? I think I may disagree with you.
Really?
Go ahead.
Okay. No, by all means, let's go.
I mean,
what you got?
They've been to the playoff 4 years in a row.
Yeah.
They've won 2 national titles. They're one of the clear top 2 programs in the country. I think they are a dynasty, or at least they're very close to being one.
I think that's what I would say. I think they're very close to being a dynasty.
Sorry to interrupt you.
I think no, it's all good. I think that the Chicago Bulls were a dynasty. I think you got to get that 3rd championship in a short amount of time before you can really claim dynasty status. I don't know.
I guess that makes sense. So if they win it next year.
Oh, if they win it next year, they are a dynasty.
Okay.
There's no question about it. And they will have overtaken Alabama as the dynasty in college football, or at least the current dynasty in college football.
Yeah, I guess they would have. Yeah.
Which is crazy to think about.
Yeah.
As successful as Alabama has been. John is in Little Rock. John, welcome to Sports Talk.
Happy New Year.
Hey, same to you.
Emerging dynasty, I would guess. I mean, at one point,
I think that's a good way to put it.
Yeah, at one point during the 90s, Alabama, went through their struggles, and obviously what they've been doing lately is different. And Clemson, who I've heard talk today about being amongst the blue bloods, was not amongst the blue bloods lately. So, what does that say for Arkansas? I've heard people argue that Chad Morris hadn't been there long enough at Clemson to have had any effect, but I think he talked to the offensive coordinators there, and that offense that's there is directly responsible because of Morris. So, I'm hopeful that within the next few years and some good recruiting that we'll slowly be able to maybe pick our way up and out. If Clemson wins again next year, they're definitely a dynasty. I've seen message boards people in Alabama talking about, well, they're just biding their time until Dabo comes home to Alabama. And if he keeps on doing what he's doing, there's no reason for him to leave Clemson. I am happy for Hunter Renfrow. I mean, he's going to be able to enjoy some time with his grandchildren now that he's done at Clemson there. I swear to do. That guy has been there forever, man.
Where is it? A little late. There you go.
Thank you. You got to be on it with me now. One last thing. With Venables, obviously that was just a masterful job last night. I thought. I mean, and I don't know. He's turned down being head coaches, and I don't know how he would have done at Arkansas had he gotten here. Who knows? He's obviously a really, really, right now the best defensive coordinator in the business. In terms of the chief up there on the hill and how Morris is handling him, with all the recruits that we have coming in on the defensive side, do you see maybe Morris is letting him run his own show a little more than he was able to maybe at LSU and A&M, and does that give us hope for a stronger defense than maybe what he was able to show at A&M or not? And I'll take that question off the air.
Thanks for the call, John.
From all indications and talking to people, he has run his own show at LSU. He's run it at Tennessee, and he is running it here now. Obviously, head coaches have had thoughts that they've passed along, but when you hire a defensive coordinator, except unless you're somebody like Nick Saban, who is a defensive god most of the time, then you allow them to go about their way and do what they want.
Jason, when John Chavis was announced as Arkansas's defensive coordinator, what were you kind of thinking?
I thought it was a great hire. I mean, John Chavis is a really good defensive coordinator. He did a great job at LSU and at Tennessee, and then even at A&M. People acted like, oh well, maybe he's lost it. I heard some people say things like that, but I mean, the numbers at A&M improved while he was there on the defensive side. I mean, the fact that that staff got fired is certainly not his fault. So I think that was about as good a hire as they could have made, short of Brent Venables, definitely. Yeah. And they weren't going to hire Brent Venables, so I loved the hire when they brought in John Chavis.
There was that moment when Chad Morris said that he was going to hire the best defensive coordinator in the country.
Well, I forgot about that. Yeah.
Craziness set in.
Every head coach comes in and says optimistic stuff. I don't understand when people get so upset later on when he should have come in and told us that we were going to suck because we suck.
But my point being that I think it's pretty clear Brent Venables is the best defensive coordinator in college football. I think that much has been proven.
Yeah. Hey, Cliff Kingsbury is official, by the way, to Cardinals. I don't know if y'all saw that.
How about that?
And the Cardinals changed their Twitter name to Arizona Cardinals with a K.
Oh, boy. That's cute.
That's a thing now.
That's cute with a K?
Yeah.
Cute with a K.
Yeah. Thank you, Dudley. Cliff Kingsbury, the new head coach of the Arizona Cardinals of the actual National Football League.
I think his era at USC was probably right up there with the defensive coordinator that Arkansas had here for 29 days or whatever it was. I'm trying to remember.
Gosh, before he went to South Carolina.
Started with an E. Maybe.
Oh, my gosh, yeah. Just totally. Ellis Johnson.
Yes.
Yeah, Ellis Johnson.
Man,
that's right.
What? Now, Dudley, you know recruiting a lot better than I do. I'm curious, what does that kind of upheaval do to USC? Isn't that a disaster?
Well, I doubt that USC was getting kids on Cliff Kingsbury right away, so I don't know that it has that much to do with it. But if he had gone into this second, signing period, then I think it probably would have had an indication. But I mean, USC knew what was happening because they were trying to not let anybody let him interview with anybody.
And then he resigned, so that he could interview. That. Which is just kind of like, USC, what are you doing here?
I can't wait for the Arizona-New England game.
Hey, here's a good one, too. Arizona plays Cleveland next year, so Baker Mayfield versus Cliff Kingsbury.
Cleveland by a million right there.
But they hate each other, so that's going to be...
Wait, what?
So Cliff Kingsbury, this is very interesting. He spent 6 years as the head coach at Texas Tech, was 35-40 overall, 19-35 in Big 12 play. He had 2 winning seasons, 8-5 his first year, 7-6 in his third year. Those were his only winning seasons at Texas Tech. And now he's a head coach in the NFL. And this is interesting to me for a couple of reasons. First, because it just furthers the trend that's happening in the NFL right now of these franchises going to younger, offensive-minded coaches, the new school of coaching, so to speak. Mm-hmm. The second thing that's interesting about this is it brings up the whole conversation of what's your record really worth? And for me, records are worth nothing unless taken in the proper context. 35-40 at Texas Tech. Let's see in 6 years where Matt Wells is, the new Texas Tech head coach. I like Matt Wells. I think he's a sharp coach. He's done a great job at Utah State. Texas Tech is an abysmally difficult place to win. They've only had, 1-2 9-win seasons in the past however many years, and both were under Mike Leach. It's so hard to just judge a coach off wins and losses these days.
I agree with that, but I will say that there were some years like this year. I didn't think he should have got fired this year because he had a lot of injuries, the quarterback stuff. But I mean, if you're not making a bowl game at least at Texas, that's pretty bad. Everybody makes a bowl game, right? Like if you're not making bowl games, I think that's pretty bad.
Well, that's happened here a lot lately, but
well, I need to remember the audience here. But yeah,
you talked about records. The one I know he went to the Nick Saban coach's rehabilitation, school and all that. But Michael Oxley, 2-25, is what he was at his last stop, and now he's going to be the head coach at
New Mexico. Yeah,
and now he's going to be the head coach at Maryland because he went 1 year. I guess it was, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I mean,
2 years. 2 years. I think he was there 2 years. But
okay then.
But still, but only 1 year as offensive coordinator, right?
Yes.
Now here's some interesting perspective.
Dan Enos probably the new offensive coordinator at Alabama.
And he'll be taking over Notre Dame, I'm guessing. After.
So Mike Leach had 10 years at Texas Tech before he got fired, and he had 4 seasons of 9 or more wins. He also did not have a single losing season. He went 84-43 at Texas Tech. So then you turn it around and you have Cliff Kingsbury, who goes 35-40 in 6 years at Texas Tech, and then all of a sudden it doesn't look as good.
You're forgetting about the Tommy Tuberville years, but
I kind of just topped over that, just kind of purposely,
Yeah, I want to go back to something that
what he do there.
I want to go back to something the last caller said that I thought was really interesting about how Clemson, wasn't a great program really until this and kind of breaking through and things like that. And I think that's a really good point. People forget that, there are some programs that have always been great. Your Alabamas, Notre Dame, Oklahoma, those have always sort of been those big time. But Florida wasn't anything before Steve Spurrier got there. I mean, sometimes it just takes that one coach.
Right.
And Dabo Swinney was that coach for Clemson.
We talk about this a lot, Jason, with Arkansas basketball. The fact that when Arkansas basketball was really good, they had a Hall of Famer and a guy who should be in the Hall of Fame as their head coaches. I'm talking about Nolan Richardson and Eddie Sutton. Mm-hmm. They haven't had a Hall of Famer since.
Yeah.
So if that's what it takes, well, then, it makes sense.
I went back and, I wrote a book about the history of Arkansas basketball from 1923 when it was inception on, and I went back and looked over that the other day, and really there are 16 phenomenal seasons in 90 however many, 95 that they've had. But because they won a national championship in 94, 95, because they were, great in the late 80s, early 90s, because Coach Sutton got it turned around and got them to the perennial SWC champions and NCAA tournaments, it's thought that Arkansas is a better program overall than it has been because of that stacked years between those two guys.
I think that happens a lot, not just in basketball, but in football as well. But to your point, Jason, you've got your traditional powers, and then you have everybody else trying to figure it out. And so much of it is about fit.
Yeah.
And getting the right guy and getting a guy who's, a borderline Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
To win games. That's what it took at Clemson.
Yeah.
That's what it took at Clemson.
And if not breaking the rules, at least stepping on the line, messing it up.
But I'm not saying that Chad Morris is that coach for Arkansas, but he might be. I don't know. Yeah. But he's recruiting really well. If you can get some really good recruiting classes in, if he continues recruiting at this level, and then Nick Saban's going to retire someday, LSU seems to be sticking with Ed Orgeron. There's going to be an opening. Things aren't great at Auburn right now. There's going to be an opening in the SEC West someday.
His retirement will be announced in his obituary.
I'm just saying that it's not a crazy thing to think. Programs come out of nowhere and become great. It does happen.
And I want to touch on that and get into that when we come back. We got to hit a break, but I want to get into some stuff that Dabo Swinney, that Brent Venables, that Tony Elliott, that those guys have said about Chad Morris on our show within the last year, and whether or not the same type of thing can really happen at Arkansas. We'll do that next.
This is Sports Talk, streaming live on sportandstory.com.
The Ozarks, one incredible store featuring Ozark Sportsman Supply and Ozark Outpost clothing and footwear. The Ozarks, 23,000 square feet of incredible products, where every day is a sale. At the Ozarks, prices are marked down upon arrival on almost every product, which means they are immediately passing big savings on to you. Bring the whole family into the Ozarks for a shopping experience like no other. Where else can you find firearms, camo, and the hottest boutique brands all in one place? It's only at the Ozarks. They also have the best selection of gun safes in the region with free delivery within 30 miles. Don't forget, they have a live fire 15-lane indoor gun range as well. At the Ozarks, you'll find hunting and fishing supplies, bikes, kayaks, knives, boots, you name it, they've got it. So much for the whole family to discover at the Ozarks. Check out Ozark Sportsman Supply and Ozark Outpost Clothing and Footwear, Highway 412 west of Springdale in Tawnytown. Be sure to follow them on social media to see what daily sales are happening at the Ozarks.
Need a vehicle for your business? Fleet Center of Arkansas is your #1 source for all your commercial truck needs. Go by Fleet Center of Arkansas to find huge savings on the highest quality vehicles of your choice. Fleet Center of Arkansas is dedicated to providing quality pre-owned vehicles with a full array of financing options to meet your needs. Stop by Fleet Center of Arkansas in Rogers off Hudson Road and find the right vehicle for the job. View inventory online at FleetCenterLLC.com.
Hog fans, it's officially time for SEC basketball inside Bud Walton Arena. After back-to-back NCAA tournament appearances, Mike Anderson and the Hogs are ready to make another postseason run. Arkansas will open conference play on Wednesday, January 9th with a matchup against Florida. Tip-off is set for 7:30 p.m. You can purchase your tickets today by going to ArkansasRazorbacks.com or over the phone at 1-800-982-HOGS.
This is Sports Talk with Bo Mattingly.
Yeah, I think every Razorback fan agrees with you. And what you did, I mean, we talked about it a minute ago, is sort of revolutionary, you know, with what you were a part of at the Wildcat. And I mean, you hadn't seen running backs do that in this era, not like you did. And that was a really impressive feat, and the numbers that you put together were incredible. And when you look back on it, it was incredible. You had a 321-yard rushing performance against South Carolina. I remember that game. What were you thinking as that game's going on?
Oh man, that was now I tell you that would be definitely my second one right there as far as my memories at Arkansas. But you know, as the time went on, I didn't know we were having a heck of a day running the ball. Myself and Felix, we both were having a good day running the ball. And I remember at one point in the game, it was probably, I don't know, midway through third or fourth or something, but I was approaching 200 yards, and I ran a run for like 70 yards, and then that put me up, and I think it might have been an 80-yard run, and that put me up there to around about 280-something, and then that's when the 300 goal started creeping into my head. And, we kept running the ball and kept running it, and, we ended up making it happen. But it was definitely an honor to, tie our SEC rushing record.
Do you sometimes, can you hear that roar in your head even now when you broke through and you were pulling away and you had 40 yards of nothing but green between you and the end zone? Can you hear that roar?
It's like, I guess depending on where you were, if you heard the roar or not. In Arkansas, you definitely would hear the roar, but I've seen times at LSU where it was like you hear a pin drop when that run happened, so it was always fun to be able to get out there and get loose, but I definitely enjoyed it. That's one thing I love about the Razorback fans, man. They're some of the best fans in the world, and they're always going to be there supporting and cheering us on.
D-Mac, what's that like? It's probably a hard choice. Which is better, the silence of a really loud place like Death Valley or the roar of a Razorback stadium in Little Rock or Fayetteville? Which one's better, the loud or the quiet?
I got to say, just for the logistics of a quiet stadium.
You are dialed into Sports Talk Get in on the show at 877-447-4040. Filling in for Bo today, here is Bart Pullman.
That phone number is where we find Brett in Fayetteville. Brett, welcome into Sports Talk.
Hey, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
Just a quick thought on Dabo Swinney and Clemson, and don't want to take anything away from him. I think he's an unbelievable coach and one of the best, obviously, in college football with what he's been able to do. But I still kind of find it hard to believe that they're a dynasty, especially I know some people don't like to hear this or go this route, but when you look at their strength of schedule, it's not the SEC. It's not even really what Oklahoma played. I know Oklahoma's strength of schedule and Michigan's wasn't that good, but I guess the point I'm getting at is, would they be doing what they're doing in the Southeast Conference and not necessarily even in the West Division, the East Division? And I realize that they beat Texas A&M this year by 2 points and they beat Auburn by 8 points, but consistently week after week after week, you just don't have the sample size to compare, I feel like, in an accurate way to, what these SEC West coaches are doing. And I think that would be kind of the only motivation that I would see for Dabo possibly wanting to leave Clemson is it's a lot different, and it seems like it's a week-in, week-out fight in the SEC. And so I don't know. That's just some thoughts I have. Again, I think Dabo's a great coach, and I respect him a lot, just personally and as a college football coach. But I still just have that question of doubt in my mind: would this translate to the consistency that he's been able to put on the field in the ACC? Would it translate to the same consistency in the SEC? And I'm not sure about that. So anyway, I'll hang up and listen to your thoughts. Appreciate everything, and you guys have a great show. Bye.
Okay, thanks for the call, Brett. I'll try to we'll tackle your questions, your thoughts. First, Clemson would dominate in the SEC. I have no doubt about that. East, West, whichever division they're in, that's the type of they are an SEC program in the ACC.
No, I agree. They've got great talent and would be able to compete. I don't know about dominate because you would. It is a tougher schedule, but I do think that they have the athletes, the coaching, and everything you need to succeed and be fighting for the SEC title, if not winning it.
I agree. I mean, I think sometimes that argument. I mean, look, I know the ACC was a little bit down this year, but I mean, come on, the SEC. Not to fire anybody up or get on a soapbox here, but I mean, you're playing Ole Miss, you're playing, no offense, Arkansas, you're playing Mississippi State. I mean, LSU is not. I mean, they were pretty good this year, but they weren't great. I mean, I think that's a little bit overblown sometimes. And look at the teams they other than Alabama. When's the last time they lost to an SEC team? They beat Auburn. They beat the crap out of South Carolina every year. And they beat Alabama really bad last night. So I don't know if I agree with the premise there.
As far as the strength of schedule goes, I just pulled up the Sagarin ratings. Jeff Sagarin's been doing college football ratings for years, and you can argue about whether or not they are accurate or effective or anything in between. But part of that is a strength of schedule ranking, and according to that, Clemson had the 25th toughest schedule in college football this year. So it's not like they're playing nobody, and they're playing good teams. In fact, I would argue that the ACC is probably the second best conference in college football this year.
Maybe.
I just said you could argue.
I know, and I'm trying to decide whether to argue with you or not.
I didn't say definitively.
Yeah, you could go arguably.
Yeah,
but, Syracuse was good this year.
Syracuse was very good, I thought.
Florida State stunk.
I will. Well, how about this though? Well, I think we can agree on this. In any given year, the ACC has potential to be the second best league in college football.
Yeah.
With the programs that are in that league, Florida State, Miami, Virginia Tech, you've got good football programs.
They're better than the Pac-12.
Well, I mean, so was the American Conference.
No, that's not true. I disagree with that completely. I'm a UCF hater, though.
It was a joke.
I know.
It was a joke. I don't really believe that. But the Pac-12, It's about as bad as you can be in terms of a Power 5 conference this year.
Yeah.
And they don't, by the way, they don't have any hope for the future, I don't think. When I look at that conference, I don't see anything hopeful about anything going on. Chip Kelly at UCLA, sure, that's great. They won, 3 games this year, 4 games this year?
They are bad. He's got a long way to go.
He's got a long way to go.
Oregon, I think, is on the upswing. They have a really good recruiting class. Washington's okay. I like what Washington State's doing. I think they should have maybe been in a New Year's Six bowl.
I thought
all they needed to do was win that last game in the Apple Bowl or whatever.
Well, the weather killed them. That was
the weather was there for both teams.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
I do think it was a travesty that Mike Leach was not in a New Year's Six bowl. Like we had, really, could we not have given that UCF spot to Washington State?
I think he should be the moderator for the national championship coaches. When they get him on stage, there,
I'm okay with it. Look,
there'd be a lot of coughing.
The bottom line is that I want more Mike Leach in my life. I want to. Dudley, don't look at me like that. I want more Mike Leach press conferences. I want Mike Leach having primetime television games.
You want to play Pirates with him?
No.
I think you do.
Wow. This got weird, guys. You made it
Bart's
weird.
like dream celebrity lunches. Rob Thomas and Mike Leach.
Let's go next time. I would like to cover Mike Leach more than I'm getting to cover him now. I think that would have sufficed.
We'll be back in a minute.
This is Sports Talk, streaming live on sportandstory.com.
Do you enjoy golf? Come live at a Links apartment community and love where you live and play. You get free golf privileges, a resort-style pool, great fitness center, and a whole lot more. Our 9-hole courses offer you challenging and quality golf right outside your front door. All that you need and want, we have. View rates, photos, and apply online today. Or check out a complete list of locations by visiting lindsaymanagement.com. That's lindsaymanagement.com.
What's your more? Maybe it's more days in flip-flops, on a beach that you own, in the Caymans. Whatever you'd like more of, Mega Millions from the Arkansas Scholarship Lottery can turn those dreams into reality. And the next drawing is for more than $40 million. So go to your local lottery retailer and get your ticket to more today. This is winning. Call 1-800-522-4700 for Problem Gambling Helpline.
This is Sports Talk with Bo Mattingly.
Well, today's a special day for Arkansas fans and maybe the best player to ever wear a Razorback uniform.
Y'all better put him in the Heisman. You better put him up there. I'm tired of him being number 4. We got that Wood right here, baby. Somebody better look at this guy, the best football player in the country, and his name's not being mentioned. Lou Holtz, Mark May, number 5. You better look at him a little closer. He's a football player.
That's Houston Nutt talking Darren McFadden, who's going into the College Football Hall of Fame. He's the only Razorback in program history to win multiple national awards in his career, racked up 25 first-team All-America honors, twice a runner-up in the Heisman, 2007 Player of the Year, and he's with us on the First Security Bank hotline. D-Mac, congratulations and welcome to the show.
Man, I appreciate it. Thank you guys very much for having me on.
What's today been like? Have you been going down memory lane a little bit?
Definitely so, man. To get that news and to have your phone start blowing up and then, start seeing a lot of clips and highlights and things that people have been posting. It's definitely been a great, man. It's an honor to be inducted into the College Hall of Fame. And it's one that not many people get into, so it's definitely an honor to be, man. And, I'm just super excited and joyful.
So you heard that clip that we just played. Do you still have that wood?
I remember it like yesterday, yes, sir. Still do.
What do you remember about being on the field there after beating LSU and Coach Nutt talking about the Heisman?
Man, it was just so much going on. I can remember just being out there and running around and jumping up and down with some of the teammates, and then I seen Coach Nutt doing an interview, and I just felt like it was a good time to join in with him, man. And it definitely was a classic interview, and I'm sure it's going to be around for a long time.
Tell me how you got to the wood. how Houston Nutt had brought the baseball bats or whatever the story is, and what you were saying there while he's doing that interview.
It was one of those deals where basically like a motivation for us. We actually started using them a couple games before. It was getting down to like the last few games of the season, and it was a grind for us, and that was our thing. You have to bring your wood every day, and just come to work. And, that was one of our things, and I think a lot of people took that and took it as motivation. And, guys went out there and played the way that we felt like we should, and, we were able to come out on top down there.
We see now every day we're watching a game, NFL, college, they'll get in the what they call wildcat formation. You guys eventually named it the Wild Hog. But that really started, at least in this era, I think, of football with you in Arkansas. Tell us how that kind of came about and what you were kind of thinking when that started being something you guys were practicing.
It was something we definitely laid a foundation for the Wildcat, what people call it, I guess. But, yeah, we definitely laid a foundation for the Arkansas. I would give a lot of credit to Coach Danny Nutt. He recruited me all through high school, so he pretty much knew that I can play quarterback, running back, receiver, and different positions on the field. So he kind of pitched the idea to Coach Nutt, Houston Nutt, and, from there everybody put their heads together and threw some plays in and started making plays, and it became part of our offense, and I felt like they had enough trust in me to give me freedom back there to, if it's a run play call, I could raise up and throw it if I had an opportunity to, and I just think it speaks volume for the amount of trust that Coach Nutt and the staff had in me at the time, and it was very great to be able to go back there and do it.
So you're the running back, and that brings...
And now, the Ozark Sportsman Supply Hog Update.
The Florida Gators come in here and coached by Mike White, very hard-nosed, athletic team, great perimeter players, very athletic team. And so it's going to be another opportunity for us to go out and continue to get better.
Arkansas hasn't beaten Florida in the regular season since 2013, but they beat the Gators in the SEC tournament a year ago.
We're different, they're different. Should be a great atmosphere. Looking forward to an opportunity for our guys to go out and continue to get better. I think that's going to be the big key.
Tip-off at 7:30 on the SEC Network. Some football notes for you. Ryan Pulley has decided to forgo his senior season and declare for the NFL Draft. The cornerback making the announcement yesterday on Twitter. And Dre Greenlaw has been invited to the NFL Combine. I'm Melissa Orange for the Pig Trail Nation, and that's your Hog Update.
Filling in for Bo today, here is Bart Bowman.
Thanks, Alyssa. The Hog Update brought to you by Ozark Sportsman Supply and Ozark Outpost Casual Clothing. It's now your working man or woman's paradise. That's right, the Ozarks, now your go-to store for all your work clothes and work footwear needs. They've got Carhartt stuff across the board, coats, jackets, work bibs, vests, jeans, T-shirts, work boots, you name it. They've got it. Why go anywhere else when you can get it all in one place at the Ozarks, Ozark Sportsman Supply, and Ozark Outpost Casual Clothing, Highway 412 West, just outside of Springdale in Tawnytown. I've got Dudley Dawson in here with me, Jason Kersey in here with me, and we're taking your calls. Tyson is in Lake Hamilton. Tyson, welcome in.
Actually, it's Kevin. I think they misheard me.
Well,
but anyway.
Hello, Kevin. Hey, hang on. Let's try this again. Kevin is in Lake Hamilton. Kevin, welcome into Sports Talk.
Hey, got a question for y'all. Kansas State's got a new coach out of the FCS. Question for you: how much of a risk are they taking in doing that? And this is really a Chad Morris question, because how does that compare to us getting somebody from Group of Five? Thank you, and I'll hang up and listen.
No problem.
Chris Kleinman certainly has put up a great body of work, and I think he's worth taking a chance on. If Brent Venables was going to move anywhere, that would have been the spot he would have taken. But Kansas State has done things the same way for a long time, and now this is going to be a change, and I'm sure that he'll get a few years to to keep it up, and if they don't, then they'll make another move. But he certainly has a great body of work. It's hard to argue with that.
I thought it was a great hire. I mean, that guy was going to get hired by somebody eventually, and it seems to be a good fit. I mean, the FCS to Division I things worked before. Jim Tressel was at Youngstown State before he went to Ohio State. So I thought it was a great hire. So, I mean, I loved it. And I don't really know in terms of the differences between that and the group of five. I mean, I guess it's somewhat similar. Somewhat, although at the FCS level you can win national championships.
Yeah, and you have less scholarships. Obviously, he'll have
right
a team to work with now.
Yeah, right.
Melanie is in Harrison. Melanie, welcome to Sports Talk.
Hi, how are you guys?
Doing great, Melanie.
That was a hell of a game last night, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was something else.
Yeah, I thought Boston really kicked the Nets' butt. I was happy with that.
What?
It was the other game I was watching.
Okay, I'm sorry. I was talking about the college one.
Yes,
you know,
yes, I know.
Clemson actually kicked ass. Yeah, I don't feel bad for Alabama, but I do feel bad because I've heard a lot of things where people are saying, "Oh, Saban's got to go. Saban's so good." Yeah, he's giving you how many championships and how many years? Grow up, people.
I can't say that I've heard that from anybody.
Yeah, I did.
So
I saw a few crazy tweets.
I did have a thought earlier last night, thinking, okay, Arkansas's fans are upset. They went 2-10. Alabama's fans are upset because they didn't win at all. Who's more upset?
Exactly. I have a question. What division is North Dakota State in?
They are Division I FCS.
Because they have been kicking butt for how many seasons now? They've won 7 straight titles.
I think it's 7 of 8, but it's
Okay.
been a domination.
Yeah. Well, why don't they get into another conference? Like, I don't know. Obviously, they can't be in the SEC. That geographically, that doesn't work. But Big 12, Pac-12, Big 10, something like that. I don't know. I mean, it sounds like to me they need to be moving into another conference to prove how really good they are, I guess.
Well, there's more that goes into that transition from FCS to FBS than you might think. It's not a smooth transition, and it typically takes several years to make the transition. And if you don't get lucky and get a bid to join a conference, well, then you're an independent. And for a small school, being an independent can be the type of thing that can crush a program.
Yeah, I mean, Appalachian State made the jump from FCS, but they went to Group of 5. I mean, I think there is a little bit of a transition there, and App State's done it pretty well. North Dakota State has beaten some Big 12 schools. They beat Kansas State
right
one year.
That was a big deal.
Yeah, they beat Kansas State one year, but I mean, you talk about the boosters, the amount of money that's supporting the program. I mean, all of those things are different.
It's a different level.
Between the two.
Different
It's just it's like the difference between high school and college in some ways, you know, in terms of the amount of difference. So
Or almost like a college and a university.
Yeah, like JUCO to university.
Right.
Yeah.
There you go. I was just curious. It's hard to follow all these FBS and FCS, and I was like, what the hell does all this mean? I don't get it.
I think it's like Omaha playing Harrison.
Okay, yeah, I can see that. That makes sense. All right, guys, good to talk to you.
Yeah, thanks for the call, Melanie. I'll always enjoy hearing from you. 877-447-4040, the T-Mobile listener line, if you want to get in here. South Dakota State has won 8 national titles, all since 2009. So they won the 09 title, then they won in 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18.
He is the Saban, or even better than Saban at his level.
Better than Saban. Take that completely out of context and cut that up. Dudley Dawson says he's better than Saban.
No, that was Jason Kersey that said that.
He did. He repeated you, yeah.
Oh.
Be careful.
Crud.
You got to watch these radio guys, man.
Yeah, Clay. Just ask Clay.
They and just a correction, they beat Kansas. Kansas was the team that they beat, not Kansas State.
North Dakota State beat Kansas State in 2013. I just looked it up. I got confused. North Dakota State beat Kansas State.
Yes.
Where's Mount Rushmore?
South Dakota.
There you go. Good answer.
Yeah.
Good answer. I wanted to continue to play this game.
Took me a second. Yeah.
In a Dakota. It is in one of the Dakotas.
Do you know the Dakotas are the only 2 states that I've not visited?
Really?
Out of 50, yep.
I've never been
I'm
there.
going to knock them out, hopefully. You've
been to Rhode Island, but you haven't been to...
Yes, I drove a car into Rhode Island and drove it back out of there. Rental car.
I would like to correct myself real quick. That North Dakota State, they did not win the 2016 national title. I was reading the wrong thing. That was appearances, not championships.
Surprised he was able to get the job then.
877-447-4040 is the number if you want to get in here. When we come back, Saul has prepared a game for us. We'll see how lousy we are at guessing the outcome when we come back.
This is Sports Talk, streaming live on sportandstory.com.
Life is better with basketball and with First Security. We have the know-how to assist with your needs, plus a local team you could count on. What's your better? Get there with us. First Security. Bank better. FSbank.com, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Hey there, this is Travis Tollett from Williams Tractor in Fayetteville, Williams Tractor in Berryville, and Bobcat in Northwest Arkansas and Rogers. It's finally 2019, and it's never too early to start planning for the upcoming season. Come see us during the Kick the Tires event going on now for great in-store deals and finance options on all New Holland equipment. Choose from New Holland tractors, hay and forage equipment, harvesting, seeding, spraying, or construction equipment. But it all ends March 31st, so hurry in to check out the savings during the Kick the Tires event at Williams Tractor in Fayetteville, Berryville, or Bobcat in Northwest Arkansas and Rogers.
This is Sports Talk with Bo Mattingly.
They talking about Wommack Henry.
First of all, welcome to the SEC. That's the family. Teams are so familiar with one another that it's going to be tick for tack in a ball game. I think someone told me it was like 16 lead changes. We were up, they were up, we were up, they were up, and even as they mounted a surge right there at the end. We didn't knock some free throws down, but let's give them credit. They made some plays. I thought Starks was fantastic tonight. He played probably one of his better games. It seemed like he loves playing against us. I think because of the floor space style that he can get in there and create, and he's so shifty. Also, Flag, he had a great game for them also. But I was so proud of our guys. I thought our guys, they matched the intensity, they matched the physicality that A&M brings to the table. I think they're plus 6, 7. I don't know what on the rebound. And obviously, we hadn't done as good a job as we were capable of doing. But tonight, I thought there was a big difference in the game. We talk about winning in the paint. I thought that was the biggest difference. But then also, we went 1 for 14 from the three-point line, I think, in the second half. I mean, Mason goes like goose egg in the first half. Second half, we ended up making, I think, 4 in a row. Mason made 3 of them. Big shots. And so this win goes to our total team. Daniel was actually saddled with 4 fouls when we actually made a real good surge with Gabe Usoborn out there. I thought he was big, 7 rebounds for it, fixing things on defense. Adriel Bailey. And what can you say about Jalen Harris? That's why I said you can continue to talk about this team. Deji Seals, he was big in the first half. He kept us in it, scored 13 points.
You are dialed into Sports Talk. Get in on the show at 877-447-4040. Filling in for Bo today, here is Bart Pullman.
All right, Saul. What you got cooked up for us today?
Oh, I like to have fun, Bart.
We do know that.
And the national championship was last night, so this is a special edition of Guess the Outcome.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's Guess the Outcome. There is no prize except a pat on the back from yourself. Put your hands together for your host, Saul.
Hey, yeah!
Yeah, you're supposed to clap, Jason.
Sorry. Dudley's not clapping.
Yes,
he normally does.
I'm working and clapping.
Good.
All right, Saul.
Yes.
Take it away.
So here we go. We're starting this game with Dabo Swinney. He said this today, asked about who would play him in a movie.
When we turn this book into a movie, who would you choose to play you?
Who did he say? A, Kevin Costner. B, Leonardo DiCaprio. C, Matthew McConaughey. Or D, Tom Hanks. Dudley, we'll start with you. Who do you think?
Kevin Costner plays everybody in sports, so I'm.
He does play a lot.
Him. Yeah.
You're going Kevin Costner? Yeah. Bart, who do you think?
I'm going to go with Matthew McConaughey. All right.
Okay, all right. Jason, who do you think?
First, I think it's stupid that anybody thinks that a team winning the national championship would be made into a movie. Like, there's no... What's the movie there beyond just they won? Anyway, I'll go with Leonardo DiCaprio, I guess.
Leo, okay. Bart actually gets this one correct. It is Matthew.
Matthew McConaughey, of course. Have you seen my abs? I mean, that start right there. Drop the mic.
I mean, first of all, Tom Hanks? Tom Hanks is playing Mr. Rogers, man.
But all the ones here, I think he's the most like Dabo, sort of. I mean, these other guys.
He is very,
kind of like, fun-loving,
yeah.
No,
okay.
That's why I threw him in there.
I see what you're saying.
I think he does his finest work as David S. Pumpkins.
Yes, he does. Next, Eli Gold had an interesting way he ended the game. Here's the call from Alabama. He's the Alabama play-by-play guy.
Clemson defeats Alabama for the national championship. Congratulations to Coach Dabo Swinney and his Tigers.
What did he say after that? Is it A, we will see you again same time next year? B, the Tide were rolled tonight? C, Alabama as Goliath is no more? Or D, in Levi's Stadium, the Tide's Levi's were pulled down tonight?
I want it to be D. So I'm going with D because that's what I want it to be.
You want it to be D, so you're going in Levi's Stadium, the Tide's Levi's were pulled down tonight. Bart, what do you think?
I'm going to go with A, we will see you again same time next year because we will.
Okay.
Yeah,
Dudley.
I think that's what he said.
A. Okay, all right. You guys are both right. Bart and Dudley. He didn't.
I knew that
Clemson
they had.
Defeats Alabama for the national championship. Congratulations to Coach Dabo Swinney and his Tigers. But we'll see you again same time next year.
He's not
bold.
wrong.
I know he's not
the
bold,
man is not wrong.
He's not wrong, but that's interesting. He said that. I
they
thought
do have the ego and arrogance, so
yes,
I thought that
no
was
question. No
okay.
I would too.
The next three are coming from ESPN's Blimpcast, which
wait
was
for
awful. I tuned in for a few things, and I thought we'd play around with it. I don't know if either of you guys saw it, but it's not good. It was with Matt Berry and Elle Duncan.
Yeah.
Say her name right? Yeah. So they spent a major amount of time in the second quarter, and this is a critical part of the game, talking about what? Was it A, how loud it is in the blimp, B, traffic, C, Miscongeniality, the movie, or D, their view of the sunset? What do you think happened in the Blimpcast?
That's good, Saul. I don't know. I will say that they spent a lot of time talking about miscongeniality.
Okay.
Why? I don't
Bart's
know.
going Miscongeniality. Dudley, what do you think?
Their view of the
Sandra
sunset.
Bullock.
Their view of the sunset, and what do you think?
I was going to
Jason?
go with Miscongeniality, but I'll say traffic.
Jason gets
Yes!
it. It was traffic. Here's
Thanks.
what Matt Berry said.
Look at that. We're doing the traffic cam. We're doing it.
Oh, wow.
So that's what you see. That's what congested Florida intestines look like.
Yep.
Constipated. I'm telling you, traffic's bad out here.
What?
It was so bizarre. Yeah, so bizarre.
Florida.
What does that even mean?
They were Santa Clara.
I don't know. Okay.
That's his best pickup line.
Later, the Blimpcast featured Matt Berry bragging about this. He said this.
We have
a surprisingly big restroom up here. B, a shopping mall. C, an incredible view of the fireworks. Or D, really comfy seats in the blimp. What do you think? We'll start with Jason on this one.
Well, after the intestine comment, I'm going to go with the really big bathroom.
Okay. All right. Bart, what do you think?
I too am going with a surprisingly big restroom.
I am real happy I didn't watch this to start off
Yes.
with, but I am going to go with really comfy seats.
Nobody got this one. They had a shopping mall.
We have a shopping mall that either is just getting built or it's post-apocalyptic.
It's being torn down.
Zombies running around in there.
Yeah, they're looking out the window, I guess.
Oh, I thought it was like they're talking about Sky Mall.
On the blimp.
Like Sky Mall.
Okay, and this is my favorite one. They ended the blimp cast with this sign off. Is it A, blimpin' ain't easy? B, we're big blimpin'? C, ain't been hit with no shells, but I'm walking in a blimp? Or D, no Cadillac, no perms, you can see I'm in a BL.
Did you write these?
BLIMP? Is it E, A and B, or F? All of these.
This is the first time we've had an F in
Yes,
Guess
an
the
E,
Outcome.
I threw an A and a B.
Did you write all of these?
I don't know. What do you think?
Jason, what's your answer?
Because it is a variation.
I'm going with
hard to keep a straight
D.
face.
No Cadillac, no perms. You can't see. I'm a BLIMP.
Okay, Dudley, what do you think? You're a pop culture guy.
Well, since it's one of my favorite go-to things, I'll be at a variation of it. Blimping ain't easy.
Okay.
Blimping ain't easy. Okay.
I'm going to go just because you have it as an option.
Yeah.
E, A, and B, because I want to be the one person who takes option E.
I didn't want to
Bart
go.
gets it. E. Yeah, it's very random, but this is how they ended the blimp cast.
Look, blimping ain't easy. That's just how blimping rolls.
We're big plimping, spinning cheese.
That's all.
Oh my
On
God.
BLADs.
So that means you wrote D though?
See,
I wrote C and D.
That's
yes.
really impressive.
I was wanting to go. I'm going to blank BLIMP.
Yeah, I had to. Yeah, that wasn't in there.
Oh, man. Well, hey.
There you go. Guess the outcome. Blimpcast last night. Had fun with that one.
Good stuff. I'm appreciative of the effort that went into that.
He's an OGB.
Did you watch the Blimpcast for this reason?
I literally turned in for like a few minutes and saw the traffic thing, and then later went back this morning to figure it out. Like, it was just bad.
I'd like to say I got 3 of them correct.
Right, you did do very well.
That's a pretty good score for me, and so take that, haters.
You are listening to Sports Talk, produced by Bart Pullman, directed by Sire Radler. Want the latest commentary, interviews, takes, and phone calls?
Anytime, anywhere.
Check out Sports Talk Primetime, Arkansas's premier sports talk podcast. Find it on iTunes or online at sportandstory.com.
Life is better with football. And with First Security, we have the know-how to tackle your needs, plus a local team you can count on. What's your better? Get there with us. First Security. Bank better. FSbank.com, member FDIC. Equal housing lender.
This is Sports Talk with Bo Mattingly.
I said it's like, I think it's the annual, it's the annual game. Maybe it's the old Southwest Conference Classic or something. I don't know. But I got to talk to the SEC about that one. I mean, it just seemed like it's an annual deal. And but it was a game for the fans. I thought it went down to the wire.
How does it feel? I think the other games they've beaten you guys pretty decisively. How good does it feel to win a tight one like this?
We've been in tight ones all year, Bob. I mean, the games that we've lost, guys, we're like one possession away, one free throw away. So continuing the growth of this team. That's what we're looking at. This team is continuing to grow. We're getting more productivity from our bench. And I think that's the biggest attribute. We had 22 points off the bench tonight, and it was much needed. Daniel got in foul trouble at crunch time. And so now we got guys that coming off the bench. They come out and give us some big minutes. Even the free throw that Dez shot in the second half, I thought it was a big free throw. I think it was a 1-point game and put us back up by 2. And so again, it's total team win.
With a young team, how big to be 1-0 in the conference on the road?
Enjoyed the midnight, Bob. You got another one coming up. We got Florida coming in on Wednesday, so that's what I told them. It's every game's a big game for this young team. We just got to hopefully learn and continue to grow.
Couple more? How much does Coach Watkins like getting one here too as well?
He hadn't said anything yet, but I'm sure having a chance to come here and coach here, and he got a lot of fun memories here. So. But he's with us now, so I'm sure he's happy with the win.
Last one for Coach. I got you.
All right, thank you guys. All right. I said it's like I think it's the annual game. Maybe it's the old Southwest Conference Classic or something. I don't know. But I got to talk to the SEC about that one. I mean, it just seemed like it's an annual deal. And but it was a game for the fans. I thought it went down to the wire.
How does it feel? I think the other games they've beaten you guys pretty decisively. How good does it feel to win a tight one like that?
We've been in tight ones all year, Bob. I mean, the games that we've lost, guys, we're like one possession away, one free throw away. So, continuing the growth of this team. That's what we're looking at. This team is continuing to grow. We're getting more productivity from our bench. And I think that's the biggest attribute. We had 22 points off the bench tonight, and it was much needed. Daniel got in foul trouble at crunch time. And so now we got guys that coming off the bench. They come out and give us some big minutes. Even the free throw that Dez shot in the second half, I thought it was a big, big free throw. I think it was a 1-point game and put us back up by 2. And so again, it's total team win.
With a young team, how big to be 1-0 in the conference on the road?
Enjoyed the midnight, Bob. You got another one coming up. We got Florida coming in on Wednesday, so that's what I told them. It's every game's a big game for this young team. We just got to hopefully learn and continue to grow.
Couple more. How much does Coach Watkins so I get one here too as well?
He hadn't said anything yet, but I'm sure having a chance to come here and coach here, and we got a lot of fun memories here. So. But he's with us now, so I'm sure he's happy with the win.
Last one for Coach.
I know you're gonna dig this.
I actually expect Bama to win big tonight. I don't think we've seen Alabama play its best game, especially the last 2 games with Georgia. I think we see a really good game from Alabama tonight, and I think they win pretty handedly, and it's not that entertaining.
This
It's all dope here.
is
Answer me now.
No Way Sports Talk.
We need to hire a batter coach up there.
Wow. From the Fleet Center of Arkansas Studios for all your commercial truck needs.
I'm speaking facts. How about a little decorum in here on a work day?
Filling in for Bo today, here is Bart Pullman.
So we've got some breaking news to kick off the 5 o'clock hour. We mentioned it briefly last hour, but we now can confirm that Arkansas freshman swingman Jordan Phillips is transferring from the Razorback basketball program. Dudley?
First thing that comes to mind was that, I thought he was going to be a really good player for Arkansas. I still think he's going to be a really good player for somewhere down the line, but he got injured, and obviously I don't think he's getting the minutes now that he's back healthy that he wants, so I guess he's making the move so he can be somewhere next year and play the second semester. The second thing comes to mind was welcome to scholarship status, Justice Hill, who had come up as a walk-on, was going to be a walk-on, and now they'll have one to allow him to be on to be on campus and be on scholarship. And I do still think that Arkansas is going to sign 3 or 4 different players with Justice Hill included, and I think you'll see obviously that scholarship will go to Hill. I think you'll see Daniel Gafford's obviously go to somebody, and then I think you'll probably have 1 or 2 more there that will work itself out. Yes,
as
yes.
we call
Every year there's roster attrition.
Well, and there's more and more of this happening across college
1,000
basketball.
kids last year transferred.
It's just the way it is, and whether or not Jordan Phillips goes on to be successful, I've heard this a lot recently, Dudley, of fans being critical of Mike Anderson for all the players who have transferred out of the program. Whether it's Nick Babb, who's having a lot of success at Iowa State.
After adding a last name, Nick Babb Wheeler.
Yeah. Wheeler Babb, Babb Wheeler. Whether it's a guy like him or anybody who's transferred out of the program in recent times. This is just the new way of college basketball, though. And if somebody's not getting playing time, they're going to transfer. Darius Hall's another example, a recent example, a guy who was going to be a very big piece of this year's Razorback team, and the wrong people got in his head is I think all we can say about that.
Yeah, easiest way to say it. And obviously, I think C.J. Jones was headed out the door anyway, but you had 2 there. Now you've got Jordan Phillips. And I don't suspect that everybody who's on the roster now would be on there when the season comes next year, obviously.
Here's the thing.
That's why you keep recruiting year round.
Right. even if you have no scholarships available, you are always recruiting. Here's the deal about college basketball, though. You got to have guys who are buying in. And you got to have guys who are, if you're not getting a bunch of one and dones, who are willing to stay, buy into the system, and develop. That's how Villanova's been so successful. Now, I mean, look, they've had their share of really elite talent. There's no question about that. But a lot of their guys are guys, I think of Jalen Brunson, for example, a 4-year player, a guy who developed and got better every single year, but also guys who weren't afraid to bide their time and learn from the guys in front of them, and who just really had, I've said it a number of times already, who had total buy-in. If you have guys on your roster who aren't buying in, then it's better off for them to go somewhere else.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the best. It is what do you call it? Transitionary society we have these days. That's just part of it, and I think he would have helped down the line, especially if he shook the rust off, after the two injuries. But I also see if you want to go, making the move now. If you're sure about it, make a move now so you can play second semester next year and not have to sit out all next year.
So what does this do, Dudley? I know that Jordan Phillips wasn't getting a ton of minutes, a ton of playing time, but you would think that maybe that playing time would grow as the season progresses if he rounded into form.
Yeah.
So what does that do to the bench
first
situation?
of all, I think he was a matchup problem. He would have been somebody like when I saw him out there on the court at one time. They had length galore at every position, with the exception of point guard, obviously. It looked great. I think he got 4 points that game or something like that. But I think he would have been a true small forward type guy that maybe they don't have right now. Although you can put Mason Jones in that role as a small forward / guard. But, in all honesty, again, I think he would have been a great player, but you need scholarships for next year. You need an infusion of talent for next year, and now this clears up one, and I think there'll be another couple cleared up before all is said and done.
So you look at Arkansas's bench, what they have now, and you've got Desi Sills, you've got Keyshawn Embry-Simpson, Gabe Osaboyan,
Reggie Chaney,
part-time starter Reggie Chaney, I guess for one game.
And I think that's pretty much the 9 that he has been confident in playing and has gotten most of the time. So I think you're going to continue to see that, obviously.
877-447-4040 is the number if you want to get in here. Jordan Phillips, freshman swingman for the Razorback basketball team, electing to transfer. He was averaging 5.4 minutes, 1.4 points, and a little under a rebound per game.
I think it was 2 out of 15 to start his career, and then hit a couple shots, probably around 4 out of 20 to end it.
Arkansas, the basketball team, does have a big game coming up tomorrow night at Bud Walton Arena, hosting Florida. Now, this isn't the same type of Florida team that we've seen in the past. Maybe not quite as good.
It's balanced, but I'm not sure that's what they want, because Kayvon Allen is having the worst of his 4 years of his college career, but he leads them in scoring at 10.8. They have nobody averaging more than that. They've had trouble offensively. They've been good defensively at times. In the Butler game when they jumped out 16-0, they played well. I think they're 8-5 now. It is a game that Arkansas can, and if they play well, should win.
Kayvon Allen, interesting stat about him. He
will go for 40 tomorrow night.
His career against the Razorbacks in regular season games, he's averaging 17.5 points per game against the Razorbacks. Postseason games, he's averaging 11 points against the Razorbacks. So a little bit of drop-off, but this is a regular season game. Arkansas, of course, winning the last matchup with the Gators in the SEC tournament last year, upsetting the third-seeded Gators. So we'll see what happens tomorrow night. That game at 7:30 p.m. at Bud Walton Arena. Heck of a lot better than an 8 p.m. tip. I know it's 30 minutes. But
and then you got LSU at 5 on Saturday. I think LSU's one of the better teams in the league this year. They've got a lot of guys who won't be there next year. They got dudes who won't be there next year. And I think that'll be the tougher of the two to win.
I agree with that. And then the Razorbacks hit the road for back-to-back games against Tennessee and Ole Miss. and then they're home again for Missouri, but then they're at Texas Tech. I mean, it doesn't get easy in the SEC this year when it comes to basketball. It's kind of like what everybody used to say about SEC football, that every week is a grind. There are no easy matchups. You got to fight every week. That's kind of what it is in basketball in the SEC right now. Of course, Alabama losing the national championship game to Clemson last night, that's probably not the best way to put it. Clemson destroying Alabama in the national championship game, just absolutely annihilating and breaking the machine. We'll see whether or not they've done irreparable harm to the Alabama machine. I doubt it. But just some of the stats for you. The 15-point halftime deficit, the largest Alabama ever faced under Nick Saban. No Nick Saban team at Alabama had trailed by more than 20 points at any point in the game. It was the worst loss by Alabama under Nick Saban. The previous biggest losses were by 14 points. This doubled that. It's the first time that Alabama's lost a game by more than 20 points since a 27-3 loss to LSU and Nick Saban in 2003. And the stats go on and on. It was an incredible display by Clemson. And I think Dabo Swinney really summed it up well after the game.
I felt like we had the better team, and I felt like that if we could get a couple of breaks, we could pull away.
And I think that's the first time you've heard anybody say that about a matchup with Alabama, at least outside of Saban's first year.
Yeah, a lot of teams are defeated before they walk on the field, and that certainly wasn't the case with Clemson.
No question. And Clemson had the better players. They had the better game plan. They had the better coaching throughout the game. And those are the three things that really stood out to me, is that their game plan was fantastic. Their players, their dudes stepped up, and they really forced Alabama and Nick Saban to panic a little bit. And that's not something that we have ever seen. And that's why this game, I think, stands out so much.
Yeah, and the fake field goal just encompassed it all.
Right. That was a desperation panic move. And, I go back to the SEC championship game in Georgia, faking the punt, Alabama playing punt safe, and Georgia goes ahead with the punt. And that was a move by a guy in Kirby Smart who knew what was happening and who knew what the outcome was going to be. And it was a panic move, a desperation move. And that's what we saw from Nick Saban. Now, later on in the game, as the game played out from there, what was interesting was Saban's demeanor on the sideline. It was the demeanor of a guy who knew that these guys are better than us, and they're taking it to us, and there's nothing I can say or do that's going to change that.
Yeah, I thought his speech at halftime, when he came off the field, was like, we've left some things out there, but we're just not getting it done.
And that was how the game played out, and it was really shocking, I think, to just about everybody outside of the Clemson fan base, what happened. To see a program that has dominated college football for the last decade to be reduced to that.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. That
was
whatever that was. It was a that.
I mean, they survived this. Oh, the file does not exist, Saul. Unbelievable. I go to play the John L. Smith State of Alabama program clip, and the file does not exist.
That's too bad.
They survived having John L. Smith say that about their program.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's what Alabama's having to do today. The clear takeaway for me from the game, Dudley, is that there's no longer a team that has separated themselves from everybody else in college football.
There are two. And that couldn't be more clear. Now, whether or not you want to start comparing Dabo Swinney to Nick Saban, I don't think you can, just because of the sheer number of titles. But at least in the college football playoff era,
Those two guys, Saban and Swinney, they're equals.
This is Sports Talk, streaming live on sportandstory.com.
Life is better with basketball. And with First Security, we have the know-how to assist with your needs, plus a local team you could count on. What's your better? Get there with us. First Security. Bank better. FSbank.com, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Hey, it's Bo. Gentlemen, I believe the greatest wealth is your health. Be sure to take care of yours. I personally recommend going to the Low T Center to get all of your levels checked. That's where I got my levels checked. They make it quick and easy. Low T Center exclusively treats men, and they offer a comprehensive health assessment. Most health insurance is accepted, and they'll even verify it for you. Be sure to call 479-439-9485. That's 479-439-9485.